Hey everybody. Oh. Alright. Now we're going to be doing some serious analysis here. What's up? Ah. Acerbate. Do you have any serious documents? Good to see you guys again. Alright. Go to your place. Do your work. Go do your work. Okay. Just a little test there. The next Ponda stream. Welcome everybody to Analysis Stream Thursday. I'm your host, the crazy guy with the Ponda. What's up? Alright, Tomas Streinsson, first game for today. Don't leave them alone with the Ponda. Tomas Streinsson versus me. Yabades versus Darth. Mr. Slow versus Camel Culture. I don't know who submitted that. Actually, I don't know who submitted that. Do you know, Spectacular Camel, who submitted that, Mr. Slow? His loss against Camel Culture? I assume it was Mr. Slow. T-Poo-Bot submitted a game against me. Acerbate versus some player, 1821. Uber Driver sent in a little game. An entertainment. A short Uber Driver cheapo game. Jim also submitted a very low quality game, he said. And finally, Sumacher versus Husky, which was brought to you by me, by Sumacher, submitting that one. Alright, I am a bit thirsty. Shall we have a drink of water? So what's up, everybody? We're starting a few minutes late. It's tough. Thursdays are tough. So Spectacular Camel is here. We're gonna do the games on schedule. I thought you might not be late. Yeah, Camel Culture hasn't really submitted too many games to analysis. Once or twice when it was like a good over the board game. So Yubatis is up second. We could actually go first with you, because who knows? Maybe Tomas Streinsson will show up. If we wait, maybe Tomas will join us. We could do Yubatis first and then Tomas Streinsson on the second game. Just in case he might be in the house a little bit later. I need a massage. Ponda, give me a massage. We can do that. Alright. So we'll start with Yubatis' game. Number 2 on the list. I feel like I forgot something. Thursdays are very long days for me. Basically work the whole day. For some reason I have more stuff on Thursdays than any other day by a large margin. Alright. Thursdays are a popular work day. So this is Tomas Streinsson playing against me. I guess I had two choices. But I decided to do this one. King's Pawn. Acerbate pointed out there's a new feature on lichess. You can actually click on the link there and go to chess openings page and see this very interesting little graphic of all those boards. I don't want to make you physically sick though. I do apologize if anyone is now vomiting due to scrolling. I played the Scandinavian or center counter. You want to really date yourself? Call the Scandinavian the center counter defense. That's how old I am. That we actually, in my generation, called this the center counter. Center counter defense. It's just not very popular today. Center counter. Old school nomenclature. Mr. Coffee's here in the house. Good to see you. Mr. Coffee, thanks for being our moderator. So we got d5. White only has one good move here. The rest are substandard, let's say. So knight c3 is substandard. It's a dunce opening. You gotta take. Pushing is the taxi driver variation, also not good. And d4 is the whatever. So you gotta take. And now black plays knight f6. I'm playing black in this game from my simul last week. I don't like this opening for black, but I did play it quite a lot for quite a while. Now, objectively, it's difficult to say what white's best move is. The move in the game was knight f3. This is popular. I think Andrew Martin did a lot to promote this. Oh gosh, like 15 years ago. The first player I remember really pushing knight f3 hard when he did stuff for the evil chess base empire. So typically the moves that are most popular, the traditional moves, are d4, bishop b5 check, and c4. And knight f3 makes no attempt to defend the pawn. d4 allows the Portuguese gambit with bishop g4. So, Bobby Fischer also famously played. If Uber Driver was here, he'd be telling us how Bobby Fischer played bishop b5 check in 1968 or something. Alright, so knight f3 from Thomas Transon, it's a good move. There's nothing wrong with knight f3. And now, I should point out that maybe one of the only quote-unquote drawbacks of knight f3 is that black can transpose back into... It's not really a drawback, though. I mean, black can transpose back into queen takes d5. But white doesn't have to play knight c3 here. Can also play d4. Alright. Anyways, I played knight takes d5. This is like the classical line. I don't know much about this move. Bishop g4. So knight takes d5, and now at this point white really only does have one good move. It is interesting, isn't it? You know what's interesting? In a lot of positions, you'd think chess is such a... there's so many pieces on the board, so many possibilities. What's shocking to me is, like, you get to a position like this, at move 4, and white literally only has one move that maintains an advantage. Maybe two. Maybe c4. I remember once I played a simul. I was playing black in a simul against a pretty strong opponent. He was like an expert around 2000. Once, for some reason, I was playing a simul and the game went like bishop e2, knight f4. I have like no idea what's going on there. But d4 is principled. So now black has a number of moves, I guess. What did I do? I used to play bishop g4. I suppose black could try some other moves, like c6 or something. Kamsky. Roman gave Gada the bad idea of playing the Scandinavian long ago. Roman Gingy. Alright, so g6 is my go-to move. That's the number 1. And now white plays a very rare move, which I almost never face. By the way, move 11 had a game with bishop g4 at the Liberty Bell Open. c4, knight b6, c5, knight 6, d7. He ended up... I think it was the one game he ended up losing. Once I lost to Jim Plaskett, embarrassingly, the Red Baron. Plaskett played an absolutely brilliant game against me, though. where he was white, and I swore I would never play this line again after that. It's very passive for black. Yeah, why not knight d5 there? Well, I mean, this punches back. It's about like punching back. There's a problem with knight d5. It's the b7 pawn. So theoretically, queen b3, I have this. This is the issue. Believe it or not. It's a well-known little idea. Anyways, g6 is best, and then c3. I've never faced this. But it might transpose. It basically transposed to another game I played a few moves later. Normally, white would, if he wants to play bishop c4, he could play bishop c4 here. White doesn't have to play c3. There's no need to play c3 right away. This is a common move. Leko. There you go. Leko Morozevich, 2005. Nigel Short, Al-Mashi. Lots of good players. This looks passive, but it's okay. But the most aggressive move is c4. The main line is like c4, knight b6, knight c3, bishop g7, and h3. Followed by castles, and then bishop e3. That's one of the main lines anyway. A lot of people also try to play c5. And now this is a good move. It's funny that knight d5 is better here. But b7 isn't hanging. So it's a totally different position. I know a lot about this stuff because I played a lot with black. But c3, interesting. I've never faced this. So how can black take advantage of c3, really? There doesn't seem to be any particularly great move here. And no one has played anything other than bishop g7. I mean, I would assume black has to think about trying to play c5, but I'm just going to take that. And this is a little uncomfortable. Patrick Wolf Gingy, 1992, U.S. Championship, probably. Alright, bishop g7. And now, wait, that's two options. Bishop e2 and bishop c4. I don't really get bishop d3. I see a number of games where white played bishop d3 here. I don't think I quite follow this. What exactly that bishop does there, other than put itself in a position where it's kind of vulnerable and not break the pin. No, I think either you go here or you go here. It's one or the other. White played bishop c4. So that stops c5, because if I play c5 he takes. Now this is hanging and I'm down a pawn. Right. Eating sand. I had this weird student who told me that he called it eating dirt or something. It's like, alright. Biting on granite is a little more traditional than eating dirt. Maybe he ate a lot of dirt as a child. He was a weird guy, kind of funny though. So shout out to Steve. Bishop c4 castles, and now personally I wasn't really into eating a lot of dirt. I guess if you're bullied enough it becomes kind of normal. So here I think this is where I got transposed. I transposed myself, or got transposed to my game with FIDE Master Bill Kelleher. There's no need for any h3. Gina Rook has a lot of questions. No need for any h3. Bishop g4 is not really typical in setups where it doesn't have a fallback, h5, g6 retreat. There's certainly no need to play h3 here. Castles, and now, yeah, I don't get bishop g4. That's just like, that's what Gingy did against Patrick Wolf. What are you going to do? Just like give up your bishop for nothing after h3? For some reason Wolf didn't play that, but just supposing white plays that, I mean, you're just taking here and like Where's your compensation again? Why did you just trade your bishop off? I don't really get it. No, bishop g4 is weird. So knight b6, bishop b3, and now Slaggy strikes again. I don't know what the best move is here for black, but I don't recommend playing this opening anymore. There are just too many problems with the knight f6 Scandinavian. So it appears that a lot of people like playing a5. Here's a game from the New York Open 1990. Joel Benjamin versus Throster Thorolfsson. Throster was one of the first players to actually play this opening on a regular basis for black. But a5 doesn't solve our problems. It's a move. I suppose it's not a bad move. Joel probably played a4. And then c5. That's interesting. Bishop d7 someone played here. I don't know. Anyway, I played c5. This is the most interesting. So we've got a game Arkady Rothstein versus Józef Palkowy in the database. D takes c5. Knight 6d7. And somewhere around here, somebody played queen d5 against me, but maybe it was next move. Why is my opponent the only player out of 4 players to play bishop e3 now? This is like the most logical move on the board. I get bishop g5. It's funny that white has no wins in 4 games in this position. This is really coffee house. Knight g5. The average rating of players playing knight g5 is 2251. That's extremely coffee house. Not developing the pieces. I can't remember my game with Kelleher, but it's not clear to me if he played this first or if he played bishop e3 and I played knight a6 and then he played queen d5. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't save the pawn. I mean, I could just take here. Correct. So anyway, I may have misremembered that game. I don't know. I thought it was something like that. So apparently bishop e3, c5, d takes c5. You know, he doesn't have to play d takes c5, but I think he does, realistically. Takes, knight d7. What does the computer say? Yeah, it likes bishop g5. But queen d5 is a move, apparently. So what happens on knight a6? Oh, if knight a6, then c6. Knight a6, c6? Is interesting, actually. This has never been played. No, I don't remember my own game. Yeah, maybe I just can't remember. It was too long ago. But, so bishop g5 is a real move. And so this is Palkowy with black. It's a Hungarian IM. Quite a good player, and I think he wrote some stuff. Maybe a book on the opening, I'm not sure. h6. Bishop h4. Here's another game. So apparently g5 is okay. So bishop e3. So you could induce me to play h6 here by playing bishop g5. Bishop e3. Strangely, no games in this position. And now it's possible to play queen c7. Then you get the Kelleher. Queen d5. Knight e6, c6, feeding the pawn back, bc. Very interesting game. I don't remember how my Kelleher game went, but it ended in a draw. Alright, c5 takes here, 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 and then I don't know if it occurred to him to play this move. Feed the pawn back to improve the structure. So if queen d5, it's nothing now. I could just take. So he can't defend the pawn. So he should just give it back with c6. He plays this. I was very happy to see a3. a3 is a strange move. It weakens his position. So now black is fine. Knight a takes. Bishop a2. I mean, obviously this is why he played it. But black is fine here. I thought a while on this move. b6. Because I was concerned about b4. But this looks too weak. Yeah, so he made a serious mistake here. Like, this is the only way he's going to keep an advantage. This looks like a c3 Sicilian, by the way. I wonder if that could actually happen in a c3 Sicilian. But c6 makes the most sense. bc. Is anybody out there? Legolas? a3 mistake. Knight a takes c5. Now black is at least equal here. b6. And there's a huge threat of playing bishop a6, and I thought, oh, I've got a tremendous position. I'm killing him. This is not a problem because of bishop e7, obviously. Knight on bd2. And I thought I was killing him, but something bothered me here. Why is black not... Why can't black play bishop a6? I wanted to play bishop a6. I thought I was good. And then suddenly I was like, no. Does anybody understand Gina Rook? Astrobate anyone? What could possibly go wrong with bishop a6? How could this not be good for black? I don't understand what I was thinking. I mean, rook e1, knight d3. How can this possibly go wrong? I must have seen a ghost. You seen any ghosts lately? Phew, this is like winning for black. So he has to do something else. I mean, you could do this. And you can do this. But I mean, this just like drops the b2 pawn for nothing. Wow, bishop a6 is just really strong. Damn. It's just really strong. He has to do bishop c4 to stay in the game. But I decided, okay, we'll play the natural bishop b7. Then he goes here, like provoking me. But now bishop a6 can be met by an even stronger bishop c4. So I'm okay, but so is white. Rook f e1. Guys, don't forget, gift a sub. It's Thursday. We have no gift subs. We do have bit donations from Lionel Spoon, Uber driver Goiju. We have a follow 21 hours ago, so that's good. Alright, we're revealing master secrets on how to play the black side of the white side of the Scandinavian knight f6. Yeah, I'm getting in time pressure already. But I thought I'm equal. But I didn't know what to do now for black. Ultimately, like, advancing my kingside pawn structure, my kingside pawn majority against his pieces here. But you have to keep this diagonal in mind. Oh, Mr. Coffee, wait. Hold on, guys. Can I put that in there? Wait, I got nothing. I got the wrong computer. Never mind. Nice to be here. So this is kind of primitive. And it puts my queen in a vulnerable spot, but he has this queen f1. I just thought Mr. Coffee could share our we came up with a a mixture of Nylon Mask, and Hans, the computer. Mr. Coffee generated photo. We should definitely put that on the stream. I think it's an improvement on both of them. They're both ugly bastards. So if you mix them together, it's interesting. They should breed with each other because they definitely look better when combined. You guys see what I mean. All right, Queen C6, Queen F1, A6. Why did I play A6? Rook AD1, and then B5. Okay, we've got minority attack. And now white plays knight d4. I knew my queen would regret that position. Back to C7. I don't have the link. Mr. Coffee can link it to the Discord. Yeah, that's... Maybe I do have it in my Discord. Wait a second. I can link it. Where's my Discord? Mr. Coffee's putting it up there anyway. Alright, I was logged off of Discord. Attention required. Discord is... Shut up. Norton. Edward Norton. Alright. Dude, stop already. Copy. Didn't work. It won't let me. Alright, anyway. Bigfoot. I missed it. So at this point, black is slightly better, but B4 was played. How the heck did I not win? This move looks really bad. White is in serious danger here. There's this, and this. It's not. You have to look at the pic closer. It's Nylon Mask Hans hybrid. If you look at either of them individually, it's an AI mix of both. Face app. If you compare that picture to either of them, you know, it's much better looking than either of them separately. So if you mix Elon Musk with Hans, you get like something actually that looks human, like a normal person. It's interesting, isn't it? They're both ugly, but if you put them together, they're better looking. Diversity, you know. Alright, Mr. Coffee, thanks for linking that. What do you call it if you mix Nylon Mask with Hans Niemann? It's like... Nylon Man. Alright. H6B4. This looks atrocious. This looks atrocious. How is White okay after this? Knight E4. He weakened his C3 pawn, and then he played this. So now if I take, White just pins me. And there's also Bishop D2. Maybe that's simpler, just the Bishop D2. It's unbelievable. So, Thomas, you created the most horroristic backward pawn in the history of man, and you live to tell the tale. Knight D6 instead. Interesting. Knight D6 instead. Where? Knight D6 instead. Well, I mean, that's the kind of move you might play if you had a little more time. But I mean, I'm also getting getting kind of compressed here at e5. So it was kind of cool the way he made this work. I thought he's completely dead. I mean, maybe knight a4 deserves consideration. There's also knight b6 or knight here. Too many knight moves, but b4 looks wrong, man. He's lucky he's okay here. Oh, it's against the TOS to make photos of people. Knight b6. c4. And then I wanted to lose my mind. He just gives me his white square bishop, no problem. Knight c4. Bishop c4. b4. Rook c4. So I have a monster long diagonal bishop, but white is not backward on the c file anymore. Queen d7, rook c1. And I think that black is better here. Let's see how much. 1 pawn or less. Not enough to win. Not quite enough to win. Rook c8. So I expected here Tomas would just cave and like surrender the c file, but he doesn't cave. He just like chills with rook c2. This is an interesting move. It shows patience, and he's like prepared to triple up on the c file with an attack against h6. Now if I had more time I might be able to squeeze something out of this position, but I think the key would be like e5 at some point. If I can kick his knight off that good square on d4. If I play e5, knight b3, and he's got these outposts here and here. But I just don't think black is quite winning. So I just caved and traded. He sees rook c8 coming, so he takes to the rook. I played rook c8, he just traded, and then queen c1. And probably if I want to win this position for $1 million, I wouldn't trade queens, but my h6 pawn is hanging. So it's really nice job by Tomas. I have to trade queens. And black is not better enough to win. Wally! Alright, according to Wally, not better enough to win. The best move is bishop d5. I have knight c3 here. So this move just kind of like holds him in place. It's a freezing. Actually, I'm threatening e5. I missed this. I played bishop d5 instead, and then he played the disappointing b5. So knight c3 was my last chance. It would have frozen that, and threatened to play e5, like winning a piece with knight e2 check. So let's say bishop d2, knight b1. Now black is a little better. Alright, good game. I was a little better. Not quite enough to win, though. And I was really low on time when he offered a draw. Well, actually, we played a couple more moves. And then bishop d5, b5. Takes, I don't know, did I offer a draw or he offered a draw? I don't remember. But now, with no pawns on the queen side, it's going to be very hard for me to play for more than a draw. Alright, good game. Next, Ibadas. So what did I do? I said I was going to do the Ibadas game, and then I totally forgot what I said. Sorry, Ibadas. I told Ibadas I would do his game first. Then I got distracted. I said, okay, yeah, I got to stop looking at that picture of... I just thought it was funny, man. I didn't want to really post a picture of Hans. Nylon Hans. I like that better. They should definitely procreate. If only it were genetically possible. Alright. So we get Yabatis versus Darth Fenner. It's funny. In French, Darth Vader is Dark Vader. It's weird. Someone was explaining that somewhere I saw. But how is it different? Like, Darth is Darth. Why is it different in French? I don't understand. That's his name, Darth Vader. Alright. Noir, no, I don't know. Just Dark. They call him Dark Vader. Noir. Noir Vader. Noir Vader. Black Vader. Dark Vader. TH. Aha. So TH is not good for French language. Something to do with that. Space balls. I guess the TH. I don't know. Thibault. That's Gina Rook's favorite French combination of letters, the TH. Yeah. I tried to play the Fantasy Caro-Kann against Gina Rook. You'll see. I played this and then she's like mean and played like E5 against me. I mean, I was just trying to like be friendly and transpose to the Fantasy Caro-Kann with D4. But I had to like smell blood in the water. Alright, knight C3, C6, D3. This is like a totally unknown position. It's interesting what Yabatis gets here. D5, E4. Knight takes E4. Yeah. It's a thing. What else can we do? Well, I don't see any real good gambits for white. Yeah, this was what my suggestion was bishop f5. That's what white played. That's black, but whatever. I'm a little confused. Okay. Yeah, this isn't. In Dutch, Vader is father. That's funny. Oh, Vader! I never thought about it. Vader. Vader. That's interesting. Dark Father. Oh, we're getting... It all makes sense now. Look, you are my son. Alright. Arnold Schwarzenegger should have played Darth Vader. Alright, bishop f5. He was too young. Alas. Too young to get into. Too young to be Mark Hamill's dad. Bishop f5. Is this the right game? Okay, bishop e3, e6. I was expecting a different game. Check. Expecting a different chicken. Yeah, why would anyone play bishop e4 check here? That seems like kind of a weird move. Sarah O'Connor. I'm 39. Bishop b4 check. This is a chess stream. Just saying, for your information. The whole game is weird. Yeah, absolutely. This is a weird variation. I mean, you know, it's not a normal Caro-Kann, but it's a move, right? Bishop f5 is a move. Now white plays bishop e3. But it's I mean, I guess the main point is like you're protecting your queen in case of an exchange. e6. You know, maybe objectively like knight f6. It's hard to fault either side for making a terrible move, though. Like, even this makes some sense. Obviously, like, knight f3 is more straightforward. And then this is just like a provoking move. But I mean, c3 has to be good. And now, yeah, I mean, I would play bishop e7. I mean, this piece is just, it's better, you know, it's better placed when it looks both ways. It has no great value on a5. It's going to come back here, though. So I guess either way, it will make, maybe it will make its way to that diagonal. I mean, maybe there's something to it for black. Knight g3, bishop g6, and then h4. h6, what else? I mean, I don't know what else you can suggest here. And then h5, and naturally bishop h7, and now queen g4. And then you're like, God damn it. I wish I had my bishop to go to f8. Oh, that's really awkward. That's why you don't play bishop e4, bishop a5 in the opening. I mean, to be fair, like, black's moves are reasonable except for bishop e4 check. Now black, I mean, you kind of have to play king f8 here, right? Would Petrosian have a problem with that? Yeah, there's that. But, you know, interestingly, how bad is it? Is it really, really bad? If we play like bishop c5 check knight e7, it's not clear that black is lost. Of course, it's a horrible looking position. It just doesn't seem like there's any obvious way for white to continue the attack. But obviously, you know, king f8. You gotta try king f8. I mean, this move is just really weakening. I think g5 is catastrophic. Catastrophically weakening black's position. You have to try king f8. Check, knight e7. And am I lagging or something? Knight e7 and black is hanging on by a thread. But I don't see a winning move. You suggested what? Queen f3? What's the idea here? But we have our one-dimensional bishop just in the nick of time. Yeah, so it might actually be defensible. You know, I was also thinking about this weird move. Bishop d4. Is this a stupid idea? That does seem like a problem. What do you think, boys and girls? I'm afraid black is busted after that. Except for the fact that he has a winning move. There's a bishop on a5. Holy shit. Queen takes d4. It seems okay. Except for queen takes whatever, d4. It seems great. I didn't even see it. You guys didn't catch it either. Wow. This is crazy. Bishop c5 check is the best. Bishop c5 check, knight e7, knight d6. White is clearly better. But it's hard to come to an absolute conclusion there. Knight d7. Yeah, but I like white's attacking setup. But g5 looks insane. I think after g5, black is probably just lost. Too many weaknesses. H takes g. Bishop takes. Because now this is weak. There's this. There's the f4 square. There's more weaknesses on this diagonal. Yeah, and as Tina Rook, as Tina Rook pointed out, the castle queen side, no castling. What do you mean no castling? We didn't move our king. No castling for black. Oh, it's legal. Oh no, it's not legal. It's not legal. I forgot. Wait, it's not legal. It's not legal? It's still legal. You guys tricked me. He didn't play king f8 in this variation. It's not just not good. It's legal but not good. Legal but deadly. Dude, that's a great name. That's a great name. Most people go by silent but deadly. This is legal but deadly. Yeah, this is a horrible position. Castle queen side. Bishop d4. I mean, bishop d4 right away looks very strong. Except for queen takes d4 again. I keep forgetting. Alright, I like this castle's queen side. I like this move a lot. How can black possibly survive this position after castle's queen side? This is brutal. It's probably not the only good move, though. What I don't like about knight c5 is that you're not really developing your pieces. You're doing the acerbate style where you start going off on tangents too early. Yeah, the point is, like, you've got bishop d4 now. I feel like this is like not developing all your pieces. Knight c5, kind of a one trick pony. And now queen e7. Please, castle. You got a castle queen side. Now he might play b6. Look out. I love that bishop on a5. Yeah, he's starting to sack on e6. It's very, very deep. And now bishop d4. But I mean, dude, your king is here. Dude! He's like luring him into this. When white has this move. But black, of course, with bishop d8. e5 is not a consideration. This is horrible. Rook h7. The Assermate maneuver. And now knight h5. You gotta love the white pieces and coordination. But again, what do you have against castling? What's your problem with castling? What do you have against development, anyway? This is like total devastation, strategic devastation. Black has a terrible structure, no development. All of his pieces are uncoordinated, except for maybe the bishop on g6, like his only good piece. But you refuse to castle or complete development. Knight h5, and now bishop e6. And you played b4. Because, of course, you had no intention of castling queenside all along. Oh, it's like 3-dimensional chess. 5-dimensional chess. Alright. Yeah, I'd rather not play b4, because I'm obsessed with castling queenside. You know, you have millions of moves here. I mean, knight e4 allows bishop takes d4. That's not good. What do we have? Millions of moves. The exciting knight b3 or b4. Knight takes b7. So now obviously black has a5. If white's not threatening something soon. I don't like the position of our king here, opposite that queen. On a5 we don't have any fancy tactics because of this issue. I don't understand what white is threatening. I guess knight f4. So I guess you could play like a5, knight f4. Theoretically, white is still better, but I don't know. There might be like miraculous saving move. Just for example, I don't like b4 and not castling, man. This is too loose. But now watch this. He plays b4, knight d7, and then knight g7 check. You're normally not a materialistic kind of player. And this isn't like directly a materialistic move. But I would almost like be certain my opponent would play rook takes knight here. I would certainly like give it up. I feel like he has to take it and maybe like, I don't know, try to make the best of a bad situation. Can he castle? It's not good, obviously, but... Or he can take on c5. Wait, he can take on c5. What are we talking about? What is this? Yeah. Wow, he also has f5? No. So take on c5. Take here. You know, this isn't so clear. I have access to the underbelly of white's position. Yeah, bishop d4, queen a3. And I'm getting in the underbelly. Your lizard underbelly is kind of soft. Probably white's winning, but you're going to have to be like careful. Yeah, no, I would snap that knight really quick. He played king f8, and this reminds me of what Mr. Slow said about not castling. Well, little did he know, he was right. After king f8, you're definitely not castling. No, it's arguably better than king d8, but not by much. You gotta take here, man. Come on. What's the rook on h7? Look at it. That's a good deal. The worst piece on the board for white's active knight. I'll take it. Rook h7, king f8, and now you sacked on e6. It's not even a sacrifice, is it? Is this... By the way, is this a mistake? Should you do the other way? If you do the other way, you can take here, but then he takes on g7. So this doesn't work. So what's the moral of the story? Is there a moral of this to this story? Well, there's nothing wrong with this, right? Check. You gotta do this. Takes. What? That's not mandatory. So it's not mandatory to take on e6 here. You could have just taken this, right? Like a normal quote-unquote human being. There's nothing wrong with queen e6. You look fine. Just take. So here you got carried away. Knight takes e6 check. And what happens if king f7? You're lost. Imagine that. This file and not castling. If you're like a New York City hustler, you pick up your light square bishop and like put it on c4, and hope your opponent like doesn't notice. Probably that's not enough either. If you make the move bishop c4, you might be okay. Wow. So that was ridiculous. Yeah, you can just take here and you're clearly busting him. This is a tragic blunder, and then black plays king e8 because he doesn't want to win. He wants to lose. Queen takes g6 check, rook f7, and now you're just totally back in control. Now it's okay to castle. And you're threatening bishop e2, bishop h5. Keeping the old pawn structure intact. Yeah, I mean, it must be painful for black to consider an active move like knight e5. No, he's dropping his knight on g8. Either way, that's not a good move. He has to play knight f6 here. This is like only move. And then manual castling. Yeah, this looks bad. White is winning. At this point, you're just totally winning. Alright. And that's an extra piece. He never did get to a safe haven. And okay. You're up a rook. No, you're up a bishop. And that was really handy. Alright. Yeah, interesting opening. This d3 knight c3 against the Caro-Kann. But objectively, we saw another example where black played like d4, but I don't think it makes much sense with c6. So black should probably try to keep the tension. Like, I think g6 is interesting. g6 makes sense. Keep the tension. This is okay, though. What is black's best move here? Knight f6. Naturally. And then, of course, if you take, we're going to take with the e-pawn. Queen e2. This is almost exciting as the Queen e2. The Queen e2 Petrov. Wow. Alright, let's go on. Mr. Slow in the house. Mr. Slow versus Camel Culture. Keeping the tension. So this was from our Tuesday tournament, which was well attended. Lots of strong players this week. Next stream tomorrow, guys. Don't forget to donate a gift sub, by the way. Someone. Smiley face. A smiley face, thanks for following. We have no gift subs this week. Ace or bot. Alright, Mr. Slow is white. It's e4, e5. Knight f3. Oh, I remember talking about the fact that Camel Culture plays the classical defense. I don't know why. I thought he played the Sicilian. He played the Sicilian, I thought. Right? We had analyzed some Khan Sicilians in the past. But it's good to play more than one thing. You know, good for Camel Culture to have, you know, multiple defenses against e4. Mr. Slow is tough, though. Knight c6, bishop e5, Spanish. a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3. And so, you know, if castles, black would play for the marshal, but he's saying he's not going to play for the marshal. He plays d6. So white plays c3. It's a main line closed. And then, yeah, 24,000 games, 25,000 games with castles. Chess is weird, isn't it? My engine wants to play bishop d7. But that's such a weird move. If you go to depth, higher depth, it changes his mind to playing proper moves. It's funny that on a low depth, Stockfish wanted to play bishop d7, which is like an almost unheard of unknown move. So, taking Mr. Slow out of book with bishop g4. Okay, my only comment here, Asterbait, what are you doing? Asterbait, I was just kidding. He's gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Dude, it's not even the end of the month yet. Giving away your money. Asterbait gifting 5 subs to Sean Chess, DGN Army, Checkmaters, JRS, Barons and Chess, and I Suffer from Senior Moments. That's my favorite. Thank you, Asterbait. I think bishop g4 would be better if black hadn't played b5. To be honest. What was that? We're getting 5 gift subs. No, I did something wrong. Mr. Slowhand gifted a gift sub to I Suffer from Senior Moments. My bad, guys. Asterbait gifted what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Mr. Slow gifted 1 to Senior Moments. That's awesome. So 6 gift subs. Thank you, guys. I don't like b5. So, Mr. Slow, what do you think here? Do we play d3 or h3? Dude, right now I've been working all day. I feel like I have brain fog. The thing is, I don't know why I have brain fog. I don't know if I have it from like COVID, because I'm old. Conspiracy theories about COVID vaccines. The fact that I don't exercise enough. All of the above. Or just I work too hard. Alright. I like h3, man, because once we get him to park his bishop on h5, my theory at least is that this b5 is unjustified. I mean, people take for granted a lot that in the Roy Lopez, it's just normal to play b5 and a6 and b5, but they're weakening moves. I mean, you know that. White hits with a4. This is a very weakened queenside. If black hasn't played b5, it wouldn't be so bad. So the point is, like, when you play h3, you know, maybe the computer's suggestion of bishop d7 is so bad. That's probably, maybe I'm going off on a tangent here too far. Would it be crazy? Would it be crazy to say, like, this is black's best move in this position? That bishop g4 is just a bluff, and you should play bishop d7 because you need that bishop. You know, obviously this is possible. Like, bishop e6 is possible, but strategically this exchange it's a waste of tempo, but it's not game over. But bishop e6 is a move too, you know. But what are we going to do about d4? You're going to have to take here. You're going to have to give up. Something's going to have to give. You're either going to have to give up your center with, like, pawn takes pawn and play, like, d5 or something, or you're going to have to give up, you know, the bishop and trade it here. h3 is a useful move. No, we're saying, like, black wasted a tempo, Gina Rook. So bishop h5. Yeah, this is weird. So what can we say about this? Bishop takes f3. There's the plan to play, like, bishop g5 and trade off the bad bishop, like in a Czech Benoni. But why would Romanician play this with black against Jula Sachs in 1999? If you think about it, that's really weird, because Romanician is like a Spanish. He's a theoretical expert. I mean, so is Sachs, for that matter. But why would Romanician play something dubious like this? He's just experimenting. It was his birthday not too long ago. Okay, bishop takes f3. Yeah, Romanician played this with black against Sachs and got squashed, which is no surprise because Sachs is, like, hugely good at playing stuff like the white side of the Roy Lopez. Hungarian grandmasters are notoriously good in Roy Lopez with both colors. But bishop takes f3, Soviets too. I mean, Romanician was a huge theoretician. But I figured, like, black's only plan here is to play knight d7 and bishop g5. d3. I would think this with the idea of this, but you can't because of bishop d5. So this is pretty dubious. Knight a5, bishop c2. He didn't even do that. What did he do? He played a5. No, he played rook b8. Sidestepping bishop d5. Sachs played knight d2. Now he played knight d7. Sachs played bishop d5 anyway, like, unprovoked. Romanician played knight a7. This is really creepy. Now knight f1. Knight b6. Bishop e3. Black has no compensation for the powerful light-scored bishop. But you'd think, like, black would play bishop g5 here. And white has knight e3, but that's weird that he didn't play that. That's a weird game. I don't know. Who knows what the conditions of that game were. But it's very strange to see Romanician play something like that dubious. So anyway, this is the main move for black, bishop h5. But I think it's just better for white. He has a reputation for use of rare, offbeat, and sometimes long since discarded systems. h3, bishop takes f3, queen f3, castles. a4. So this is interesting. This is a new move. We transpose to something else. Wow, you transposed to an A4 Roy Lopez, Mr. Slow. You know that? Was it Alyakin who played A4? Thanks for that info, Gina Rook. He has a reputation for offbeat lines. But not always. You know, he also plays like really good standard stuff too. Or played. Not bad beard you got. So I think this transposes to an A4 line where black plays like bishop G4. Does that make sense? Wow. Not bad beard you got? You should stream with knowledge like, yeah, no, A4 seems totally logical. Why does it matter if we play D3 first? Fabrizio Bellia. You're talking about Gina Rook's beard? And my boobs. I mean, with Gina Rook's beard and my boobs, we would be like all set. Alright. D3 here. No, D3 is, I think, totally normal. We transpose to Sachs Reminiscence. Now knight D7. So that's a blunder. Phew. Jesus, dude. On bishop D5, you fell asleep here? On bishop D5, he has to play that? That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good, bro. Would you rather lose the exchange or play knight on DB8 if you were black here? It's kind of a tough call. So he just blundered bishop D5. So you get the feeling like Chemiculture... Let's just say he's not a regular Roy Lopez player. This is what happens when a Khan Sicilian player plays the black side of the Roy Lopez. He wasn't aware of bishop D5. Oh no, that wasn't the game. My bad. That was just analysis. Sorry. Sorry, guys. That wasn't the game, of course. Mr. Slow didn't play D3. That was just analysis. So A4, B4. Sorry, Chemiculture, wherever you are. Maybe you know a little bit about the Roy Lopez. Now it's like an anti-martial. A5. Fixing the pawn on A6. Yeah, so here black plays rook b8 with the idea of what? Rook b5? But he's missing his white squared bishop. This isn't like a normal position. Against Kuprechik, this German guy played queen b8. Because the a6 pawn needs like protection as well. If you play rook b8, like what are you going to do about the a6 pawn? Oh, Borusek like won this position against the 2377, man. That's sick. I can't imagine like playing this position with black against a good player. If you're black here against like Udasin or something, you're a dead man. Or any like really strong grandmaster. It would be a miracle to get a draw, let alone like beat a 2377. Horrible position for black. So he played rook b8. You played bishop c4. He plays queen c8. No, he goes back. So the other guys move with queen c8. Borusek, I played him once. I don't know. I guess queen c8 seems more constructive than playing rook a8. But ultimately, you might have to play both. But then again, what is Mr. Slow going to do? Are you going to play queen e2 and just like never develop? No, we didn't get your game. I'm gonna do your game. Yeah, even though we've got a lot of games tonight, we'll still do B-Jack's game. So rook a8, d3. So the obvious queen e2. It doesn't really do anything. Black can defend. So Mr. So just goes about his business. d3. And now knight b8. Yeah, I mean, black has a lifeless position. Mr. Slow has played a lot of Russ Limos too, and this is very similar. Your play on the white squares reminds me of games that I've lost against you in the Russ Limo, where I give up the bishop on f3. But after knight b8, okay, a6 is defended. That's a free pawn on b4, but do we want to take it and mess up our structure? Still, it's a pawn. Pawn is pawn. So if takes d5, I was thinking about this. Like pawn takes pawn, bishop takes, rook takes e5. Still probably good for white. But I don't blame you for not taking it. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. He could just come back and try to go in there. Yeah, it's not simple. I mean, what if you just played d4 directly? Maybe we don't need to, like... I mean, maybe you just don't need to, like, prepare it necessarily. I'm not sure. Say, like, take, just d5. I'm just wondering. It still looks really good for you. I don't know what black would do. If knight c6. I mean, you have lots of ways to protect your pawns, and your center just stays, here. I feel like you could just play it directly, but this is fine. I mean, there is one thing. He can play c5, maybe. But it's still not going to stop you from playing it. Looks like you still play it. I guess he should try it, though, Like, what else are you going to do? So he just... What did he do here? He took knight on bd7. I'm not sure what trading pawns really does. You played very simply. I mean, it reminds me of Yudasin again. Yudasin would get positions like this against people by playing like the Bodler variation of the Sicilian or whatever. Just slowly beating people, even competent players. But rook b1, rook b8. No. Queen c7. And then here. Yeah, I saw this. I don't know, I know you're much better. But I'm not sure about this. You said you were going to play for d4. So I thought you were going to play for d4. You said. Why we don't play d4? This looks good. I think I'm having like a kind of weird flashback. What's wrong with just d4? There's no entry points here on the b file. There's nothing he can really do, is there? Like just take? What does he do? c5 or something? Try to Benoni-fy the position? Benoni-fy. I like everything you did. But I'm not sure about rook b1. Like, I don't know where we need that necessarily. Like, I would just play it now. What's wrong with d4? You have a big advantage. I'm not sure how big a deal this is. Rook eb1 here. You could still do it, right, after this? Yeah, sure. But I mean, I guess my problem was that he could start trading stuff, but it's not so easy. He might be able to trade. If he trades off the A pawns, I feel like he can hang on. You know, so this. If the A pawns leave the board, I feel like black has chances to draw. We don't really want those A pawns to be exchanged off. I'm not sure exchanging rooks on the B file is good for you. I don't know if that benefits you, or it just, you know, if he exchanges rooks on B1, your A5 pawn gets weak. So he plays queen c7 and you play bishop b6. So this might be good, but yeah, knight there is a good plan as long as your control of the center is good. Obviously. So you're thinking about that now. Uh-huh. Well, you could go to e3 or g3, yeah. But he'll play g6, it's normal. No, knight f1 is normal, but he has d5. So I think this might be a bit on the passive side, right? I'm afraid if you play that, you know, d5 might happen. If bishop b6, he can just play, you know, here or here. My point is that maybe knight f1's too slow. But my personal preference is to go with d4 right away. Although I don't know how to win, you know. Yeah, so this is interesting. I thought you're better here, but the A pawn is kind of a wild card. But your bishop is way better than his bishop. I don't know if you have any kind of tactics. Do you have something crazy like knight b3? I don't know if you looked at this. It probably doesn't work. He just eats the pawn. No, there's nothing special. Yeah. If that worked, I mean, if you had like knight a5, it's game over. But I just don't think you could sack a pawn for the initiative. I mean, it's close. You also have rook b7. I mean, you're close. You're still, you got something here. Knight f5, d5, rook b7. So it's an interesting idea to go for that. You play d4. I mean, d4 makes sense. You can up the ante on a6. Your bishop has retreat squares. Why not? Why not d4? Now a5, and then knight f1. He is going to have d5 at some point. I wonder, yeah, you don't really want to exchange pawns. You did that later. Though if you do exchange pawns, your plan is clear. So he reacted kind of passively. This is definitely a possibility. But I don't know what I would do with black. Can he do this? Can he like simplify? Knight e4? Knight e4, queen e4, d5, bishop d5, pawn d5, queen e5. That looks pretty crazy. I don't know. You're just winning. You're up 2 pawns. You're only up 1 pawn there. Wow. So that's possible, but it doesn't work. How about d5? D5's bad as well. So he has nothing active he can do. So he just went here. And now he's trying to take your pawn. Yeah, I guess that's a good move. Now he can play, you don't have queen e3. You don't have takes. So this is an exclamation point, knight e3. And then he played g6. Yeah, this is kind of weird, knight g4, but makes sense. You're threatening knight h6. Maybe there's something else you can do. I mean, you could just play like bishop a2. Bishop a2, blockader. This is the ultimate blockader here. And you've got that, but now he'll have rook a6. Damn, it's not so easy. Yeah, I don't know. It's a short game too. I don't know what I would do. You went here. He plays king g7. Now you have like queen e3. How dangerous is queen e3? You took, and he just traded knights, and you entered like a technical position. So what happens here? Yeah, you're low on time, but you're used to that. Queen e3 is the best move. Wow. Queen e3 is the only move that leaves you with an edge. Wow. So you just simplified. But you're still not worse, The pawn on b6 is really dangerous. I know he has an outside a pawn. If it gets to a3, it's scary, but you also have the passer on b6 and you're blockading a2. I can't imagine you can be worse. Yeah, this is where you started to lose it with king h2. Honestly, he's starting to take your pawn. I'm not that worried about that. Probably h4. Black will likely play h5. You play g3. If he tries to take your pawn, you get your king, on a white square. You should get your king on a white square. I don't think, being down a pawn here matters that much. I think you're still fine. Computer likes black, but I still think that you're not losing. Can we hold the pawn? Maybe you can still try to hold the pawn. Like rook somewhere. Rook. Uber driver talking about rook a4. That's awkward. Let's say rook b2. But I think you have to just try to draw at this point. This is a really bad move. There's no way we can play f3. There's just no way f3. And you're just in time pressure. He was just making random moves in time pressure. Usually Mr. Slow does a good job of that. But these kingside weaknesses are crazy. So yeah, f3, and it was crazy to do f3. With that outside a pawn, you're probably just lost here. Even if he didn't have an a pawn, I wouldn't want to play this position for white. But you'd probably hang on, right? So you have king e2 now. But, again, the a pawn is really problematic. And, this is winning. Alright. The story of time. I'm not taking challenges today, Ken. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for the gift subs from Mr. Slow, and obviously Asterbait with 5 gift subs. Guys, we have a bunch of games to get to. I'm not even halfway there. 1, 2, 3. We've only gone through 3. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games remaining. TP bot. Very serious game here. This is our most serious game. Thanks, Mr. Slow. But I don't like that opening by Camel Culture with Bishop G4 is trash. Okay. F3 because it was Weird Wednesday and she said fantasy variation. So I wanted to transpose to the Caro-Kann, but she was mean and played E5. So I was like, what am I going to do now, you know? In the old days, I would play King F2. This is, you know, the pork chop or whatever. You're supposed to play King F2 and then H4. Translate F3. Well, I mean, you asked for the fantasy variation, and I played F3. So, you know, it's kind of like a deep logic puzzle. Alright. F3, E5. You could have at least, like, probed with D5, and, you know, if I go, like, D4, you can see the transposition on the horizon. I know that it's not that obvious here. I normally don't play F3, though. I don't do the Bond Cloud or, like, utterly bad openings. Men. Speak for yourself. F3, E5, C3. So I decided to play like it was a Caro-Kann, where I'm playing the white side of like a Caro Gurgenidze setup. It's not so bad. I mean, C3 is probably one of white's better moves here. I've seen people play like E3, Knight H3, and that was my plan. We transposed to a Carlsen game with Knight H3, C3, now D5, and yeah, Gina Rook is as emotional as a computer, just methodically playing the best moves. D5, walking refrigerator unit. That was a classic quip from for you sci-fi fans out there. First season of Star Trek. Walking freezer unit. Was that it? Alright, D5. Now I shouldn't have gone here with D4. Maybe D4 is pushing it too much. D4, Knight C6. And now, how do I keep the tension? Not easy. I tried G3, and then black busted the H5 on me. Holy shit. Let's check the lichess. Lichess Opening Explorer. H5, 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 H5. It's not on the list. Wow. So I think in terms of, like, aggression, you know, H5 is up there, man. I mean, H5 is probably the most aggressive move in this position. If you asked, like, Jabava to play this position, he would probably toss it out there pretty quickly. Not the most principled, although maybe Jabava's a good choice because it looks like a Jabava reversed. It would also reduce the chances of white playing G4. Yeah, it's like, were you trying to restrain my G4? Or you were just trying to attack me? I guess the answer is clear on the next move. So H5. What does Stockfish say? Stockfish doesn't choose H5. It goes with sensible development instead. It's the computer just wants to develop its pieces. So I'm just checking the lichess database here. There's only one player who played my Knight H3. Hans Schmidt is not that player. New Jersey Magician. Well, I mean, the point with knight h3 is to block h4, h3, and also to play knight f2. So I thought, okay, this is a very normal idea. I physically block the h-pawn from coming forward. Okay, so see, the guy who's 2864 played my move. Knight h3. We're actually following this one game where high-rated Bullet players were playing. Because I have so much respect for Bullet. I don't know why that's not turned off, but h4, and the game just disappeared. What the heck? Oh, so their game went bishop d6. Governing Body, 2800 Bullet player, played bishop d6 here, developing a piece. What do we got? A few seconds ago, very interesting follow. So h4 direct. My original plan was to play g4. Walking freezer unit. Gary Mitchell. It was Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell. No, h4 is logical. You don't have to do it. But the question is, how should white handle it? My original plan was to play g4. And I'm just wondering, Jesus, look at all the transpositions. I think we just transposed to the Grob. Should I play g4? And the answer is an overwhelming yes. Wow. My intuition was right. And I insisted on not listening to my intuition here. So g4 is concretely best. Face Sosaji when playing against opponent. Haha. The walking freezer unit. The very emotional female opponent. g4. Should have played it, but I didn't. Now notice here that two people played d takes e5, which I'm honestly not real thrilled about either with white. The problem is that white just doesn't have very many useful moves in this position. It's a bad position, shockingly. So I gave up the center. No, next move. Bishop g2. This doesn't help my cause too much. The bishop is obviously like very badly placed here. And there's some guy Shmuley likes to play this. Those are blitz games. And now hg, hg. Development with bishop d6. Black is clearly better. Now you're targeting my g3 pawn. So this is where like now I'm like forced. I have two choices. I can play king f2 and defend my g-pawn. It's like virtual suicide. If I play king f2, you have like pawn takes pawn, bishop takes g3 check. That would be too much for that guy to find. This is a game with a 2500 with black. And the guy couldn't find bishop takes g3 check. That's a tough tactic to find, man. Very hard to see bishop takes g3 check. King takes, queen h4, followed by king h2, and bishop takes h3. There is a move, king g1, to be fair. My gosh. And then queen g3. And then rook h2. But I was worried. So I took an e5. I gave up the center. And there are two games here. Both the same guy. He loves playing this. It's nice to know that I'm playing like an expert in the f3 opening. Now knight takes e5. And both times our hero played queen takes d5. Wow. Shmuley. Play another game, Shmooly. This was a move that I really did not feel good about playing, but I felt like there was nothing better. It was like the lesser of the evils. But objectively, it's probably a bad idea. I don't know. But at least if I'm going to have a bad position, I'll have a pawn. I mean, I could have just played like knight f2 or something. So I grab the pawn. There's no tactic. She plays knight f6. And now I varied from Shmooly's play with the novelty queen d4. I mean, obviously, like, d1 is a normal move. Black won both those games anyway. But I thought with this move, my queen would be more active on the 4th rank. And while there's like a possibility of c5 happening, you know, I'm not 100% sure like black wants to play that. And she did end up playing that. You know, that does slightly weaken some positions, some squares, some positions. Some Kotska's squares. I mean, if you castle queenside, you might not want to have played c5. I wasn't convinced that it's necessarily bad. Now, maybe queen e7. Maybe there's another way to punish queen d4, not c5. But let's say queen e7. And that's what you played. Exactly. And now you're setting up tactics here. So I wasn't born yesterday. But apparently, I'm okay after knight f2. Wasn't that the point? How bad is it? Knight f2, rook h1, bishop h1. If bishop c5, this covers the d3 square, and my bishop covers the f3 square. So I can go, you know, there or whatever. White doesn't seem to be lost necessarily. But I missed knight f2. I completely missed the idea of knight f2. Completely. Like, it wasn't even in my line of thought. So I played knight f4. Which is not as good. Only for you, Nefdov. Only for you. Try to get the games in earlier. But I would never refuse you. Rook takes h1. Bishop takes h1. I mean, the problem here, of course, is that black could play g5, first of all. My main issue. Now she plays c5. And I guess check doesn't do anything. I didn't really seriously think about going back here. If queen f2, she has like g5 followed by knight d3 check, and I'll lose a piece. So, I went to d1. And then I criticized your next move. I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure... I guess I'm pretty sure I anticipated you playing like bishop f5. But I mean, it's possible. I don't know, man. Like, all hell could break loose here. White has no development. All of my pieces are on the back row, and you could do some kind of massive sacrifice, like knight takes f3 check, bishop takes f3, knight takes c4. I don't want to know. I don't really want to know, but I'm probably okay here. You know, this is probably a bit much. Yeah, so in retrospect, I mean, I guess g5 scared the shit out of me. Also. But you are one move away from castling. 2 moves away from castling. So it's not so simple, you know, for you. Maybe this was the best move. You could also play bishop d7, but it's not very incisive. Well, that's also not bad. What's wrong with bishop d7? You would castle queenside. Your bishop can go both ways. It's unisex. Well, I don't want to be too reliant on Mr. Stockfish. But if you insist on me checking, it likes bishop f5. That requires a lot of calculation, man. Bishop f5, the engine gives e4, castles queenside. You know, so you're not big on calculating long lines. I know. Bishop d7 is safer. I think you're making a mistake here. Like, letting me trade pieces is a huge mistake. In a general sense, when you sacrifice the pawn for the initiative. But your point was well taken that, you know, you're making me trade. Why did I suddenly start having an echo? I don't know. Your point was well taken that I am trading my most active piece. But again, keep in mind, like, take f4. And this also can open up. Of course you have crazy stuff like queen here. I'll have to be ready. But, you know, you're losing a valuable piece there. I wouldn't gamble on it. You know, I think, like, if you play this, it's much lower risk. You also have this pointing at f3. Your bishop looks both directions. You cut out queen a4 check. There's no option for me to trade it. You have g5, which is a tactical resource at any moment. No, probably bishop e6 is okay, though, because you are drastically ahead in development. Now I decided to check, although I don't have any grand scheme. I don't know what my plan was. I don't know. I guess it's okay. Queen a4 check here. But it also takes away my defensive d3. I mean, if I don't play queen a4 check, you're going to castle queenside. So I don't know what to do, ideally. I'm probably lost. The computer says it's, like, massively better for black. My best move is f4. Something like f4. So I thought check, king f8. By the way, the best move. How do you know whether to play king f8 or king e7, by the way? This is a huge move, according to Stockfish. Maybe part of it is this lineup, because you can play, like, rook e8 in some lines. The other thing is your king is farther away. That's pretty easy to find. It's plus 4.8 for black. And then, you know, I'm facing the threat of knight d3 check, which is basically close to winning. Plus this, plus queen h3. And I'm too far away from... And bishop f4 doesn't work. So I just tried to get onto a white square. And then I don't know that you played it the best. I mean, I need at least 2 more moves to develop my pieces. But if I could trade queens, I would be alright. I rejected queen f4 because of queen g6. But I don't really know why. You know, I guess I told you I saw this as a problem, but I was not really thinking rationally. You know, I mean, you've got issues there. I saw this. I didn't like this. I didn't like this. That's apparently my best shot, though. Like, bishop f4 was a mistake. And now I'm pinned very awkwardly. And you're threatening b5, winning a piece. You're also threatening stuff like knight h5, just to name a few options. g5, very subtle option. So I figured my only chance was to defend my queen, so my bishop could move. And if you played b5, I would play queen a6, attacking your bishop with check. But I mean, you know, if you asked me, like, if I'm lost here, I probably would have said, Yeah, I'm probably lost here. I don't know exactly how I'm lost. But I wouldn't be surprised if the computer says I'm lost here, which it does, objectively. So I went on time here, but I mean, I am losing. I was concerned about c4. Why am I echoing suddenly? I wasn't echoing before. It's weird. Okay, I know why. I think. Okay, guys. What about c4? Yeah, it's like it's not that easy to finish me off. Takes. Queen takes c4. You can trade queens. So this requires 17 depth. The other option is b5. At first I thought I would have to sack my queen. That was my first option. To have like two bishops for a queen. Then I saw I had queen a6. So I would have played queen a6. Here you have some kind of computer move, knight e4. I would have anticipated the normal rook move. Yeah, and so materially white is fine, but I'm just like undeveloped. So -10. Yeah, all five of black's pieces are active. And I have just 2 active pieces. A perfect game by black, almost. Alright, Nefyadov is last. Unless we get bribed. Acerbate is up. Let's go, guys. We've got an hour left. Acerbate with the black pieces. Can I bribe you? Yeah, you can bribe me. Look, I'm an equal opportunity bribee. Equal opportunity bribee. He's bribing from his phone. You text as well as me. And Donald Trump. There was an article in the New York Times, like, OMG, Donald is texting. So we might get more stuff like Kofefe in the future. Alright. I'm always equal opportunity bribee. I don't discriminate. The next bribe will be the next game analyzed. But we're doing the Acerbate game first. I've already started. Knight f3, g6, bishop c4. I wish I had $1 for every time that people do this. Why can't anyone play a normal move here? Why cannot they play d4? Acerbate, I command you to get your rating over 1800. His opponent is actually 1800 and he's still playing the Bodler. You're going to have to get 1900, dude, to get people to stop playing this crap. It's actually not a bad move here against g6. But it's like all the people play below 2000 on lichess. It's ridiculous. It's so sick. Bishop g7, castles. And now you're regressing. Knight c6. I'm going to go back to the master's database. It looks like knight c6 is a slight regression. It's better to play d6. This is our best shot. It took me like 20 years to figure this out. But it looks like d6 is the best move. Our old style was to play e6. But I've known about knight c6 being bad for a long time. And Acerbate, you should know better than this. How many times have you gotten rolled up by this d-pawn? Now you have to revert back to d6. But I'm not sure about if he goes Jim style on you with like queen b3. It might be too late, you know. Why is there no games here with queen b3? Oh, you got knight a5, queen b3. You know, everyone will play like knight g5 against them. We've already seen like 10 games like that. But if queen b3, we have what? Knight a5. Check's not a problem, and bishop f7 drops the piece. Yeah. Okay, so this is fine. Just so you're aware. Yeah, d4, and then we revert back to the other line. Jim knows this, actually. Knight f6. But I still don't like putting the knight on c6 if I don't have to. Yeah, e6, knight e7, and d5 looks logical, but it's the old way to play, and it's playable, but it's kind of lifeless. It creates some. That's the way we used to play it. But I feel that this is better, and better not to put the knight on c6. We've seen a lot of this now. We're gonna play hyper modern style. I recommend playing knight f6 and castling as fast as possible. Black is okay. No, it's not a pain. It's not a good move, actually. Thanks for sharing. Sharing is caring, but e5 trades off white's own center, you know, so it's generally not a good idea. You know, trading off your own center is a pretty big mistake. There are some variations where that happens in different positions. It depends on the situation. So, white played d3. This is just lame. Once he does d3, like, black is great. You've got a good position. Very bad. Knight f6. Okay, you could choose other setups. Knight f6 is fine. And then there you go. You know, totally stupid move. Knight g5. It's an interesting question, though. You know, this probably just creates more issues. And if you play d5, what do we get? Like the fried liver? Sicilian fried liver. Take. King takes. Queen check. King e6, anyone? I don't know, you know. Probably like this. I don't have a clue, actually. I'm not even going to make a conclusion, but I'm not going to play that. You know, I don't want to play that. So I would just castle, and you're good. If he plays f4, you're going to hit him where it hurts here very quickly. You got to pound the d5 attack in. But you might have to play h6 first, kick him back, and then smack him with d5. And white's got nothing. The point is to destroy the enemy's center. You have to disable that pawn. Then he takes, he's got no center. And black is fine. After knight c5, I think he should be good here. So, thinking it through. Knight g5, you played e6. This is a little bit... You know, this is a little bit shakier. I mean, if we play d5, are we going to have an open file? We want to take with the knight, I guess. e6 is probably okay. And now, really bad move. Tomato farmer. Really bad move. This is just awful now. He's playing beginner chess. But, I don't know, man. Honestly, I bet this is a mistake. You know, I've played games like this. Maybe it's not. Let's see. Queen g3. Knight takes c4. D takes c4. h6. And we can, like, take on e4. Probably should play e5. And we win a piece with knight h5. Yeah, this may be not a mistake in this instance. Let's see. Knight f3 or knight h3. Knight takes e4. Black's just better. Okay. So you play knight e5. He plays queen h3. Now you play d5. You might want to consider playing h6 first. But you have to realize that this is not a weakening move. It's a useful move. It can be weakening, but it's also a useful move that will drive his knight back to, a less aggressive square. You can play it next move, though. You can take on c4 and then play it. The point is you're going to take out his center. He's totally busted. Coffee house attack, that doesn't work. But d5... This is good, but I don't know if it's as good. First of all, he has bishop b5 check. After bishop b5 check, bishop d7... He can attack your knight. Your knight is just hanging out on e5 with like f4. I don't like it. Bishop e5 check, bishop d7, bishop takes d7. What do you do? Which way do you take? With the queen? He plays f4. And I think your position is okay. But it's not clear like white is worse, actually. It seems like white has a reasonable game here. Some chances to attack on the king's side. So d5 is probably a big mistake. You either have to continue your natural plan with taking this or attack his knight. But you're still going to have to take that bishop on c4. I think you're committed to it, Once you played knight e5, you're basically like, you said A, you have to say B. You played knight e5, you forked his queen and his bishop. So what's the point, just to move your knight back where it came from? You have to take. If his e-pawn was protected, I would think his position is okay. But the key is like when he goes back, you're going to take out that pawn on e4. This is a mistake. He takes now. You can take with the knight. I think if you take with the knight, you're actually pretty safe. White's queen is reasonable. His knight isn't that bad. White is probably okay. Again, check. Bishop d7. Bishop d7. Queen d7. Black is slightly better. Maybe. Because we have pretty good control of the center, but I'm not sure we're better. At least equal. But this way allows rook e1. I wasn't sure what's going on here. I can't believe this guy didn't play rook e1 in this position. The open e-file. His queen's attacked. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Acerbate. Well, I figured out. Thankfully, I saw it on my own that his queen is attacked. So that's your point. Okay. Sneaky. Almost got me. You almost got me. So maybe he can do the queen move. Well, not maybe. He has to. Queen e3. And you're still not winning a piece. Knight g4. Bishop e5 check. Yeah, this is very murky. Bishop d7. The c5 pawn is hanging. What is going on here? He can still play bishop e5 check, yeah. But I thought this is better. Well, he can do it in either move order. I don't know. I guess I kind of thought this was better. I don't know why. So, I don't know. Let's see. The computer likes the variation. It thinks this is even good. But I think you should have taken it earlier. Alright, take. He misses queen e3. I guess this is similar, right? But you have knight h5 there. Then he does bishop e5 check. Alright, it's not so simple. Can his queen get trapped? That's what you did. But he has the check. Yeah, so he kind of like... Oh, he hung his queen. My god, dude. After all that, he just like straight up hung his queen. He's survived this far. And now, he just needs to make a sensible move. I know his position isn't great, but let's say queen e3. And he just drops a queen. So that's kind of anticlimactic, man. No more anticlimactic games where the opponent just gives you a queen. And a rook. A queen in the exchange. Greedy, greedy, greedy. Yeah, I mean, you just gave him a piece. That's funny. Acerbi played f6 and dropped his bishop. And he's still winning. A queen and a rook for 3 minor pieces. Alright. Do we have a bribe? I thought we were going to get a bribe. Someone said, can I bribe you? Did we get a bribe? What about a bribe? Last call for bribe. Otherwise, I'm going on to Uber driver versus Alex Trebek. In honor of Alex Trebek, the late Alex Trebek. Longtime Jeopardy host. Chess Jeopardy. Can I get a donation or a bribe? You've got 30 seconds to bribe me. He was texting from his phone. Alright. 10. Counting down. Going to the next game. If there's no active bribe in the next 10 seconds, Chris is named John has followed. Chess's Bedre. Fanal Gambit. I know. Alright. Will Chess 960... I've got a bridge to sell you. Chess 960 sucks. It sucks. You know what? I think what a lot of people don't realize, Gara, is that the initial position of the pieces isn't random. It's actually logical. I don't think Chess 960 will ever surpass normal chess. I personally started to hate Chess 960. I was kind of open to it. I tried it. I played a fair amount, and I have to conclude that it just sucks. It's not as good as normal chess. Alright, so I don't think so. We're going on to the next game. We got no bribes. This is Uber Driver, a quick game with black. I can't stand playing Chess 960. I hate it. Alright, Uber Driver with black. The Tarash defense. Knight c3, c5. Fans of IQPs. Equips. Now, some of you might know about another fun opening, the Hennig Shara Gambit. If you ever want to have fun, this is a playable gambit. There's actually a lot of theory on it. The theory on this gambit goes over 20 moves. In some cases, I saw some analysis that's almost 30 moves deep on this gambit. It's crazy. There are some really hardcore correspondence players who take this very seriously. It's practically playable, but you have to be an expert to make it work against a decent player, I would say. And I guess in the critical lines, black's probably just barely hanging on. E takes d5. Knight f3, knight f6, g3, knight c6, bishop g2, and there's other ways for both sides to play. This is standard. Bishop e7, castle, castle. I had the same game with Mr. Slow last week where I was white. or this week. It was Tuesday. This is the game I lost with white against Mr. Slow. I almost never lose a tower rush with white. Bishop g5. And here Mr. Slow, after the cd4, knight d4, he played rook e8. And I kind of faced the other move, h6, much more often. But Uber Driver here played this. Devon Hennig Shara. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, Gina Rook. If you like memorizing long variations, I'm not sure, like, you have to be, like, a huge tactician to play it. Like, the schemes are, like, very long and more, like, strategic based, so it's not just about tactics. But, I mean, Bishop e6, this is this weird pseudo variation. It says classical variation, endgame variation. What is that? Don't trust Wikipedia when it comes to like opening names. All right, so Bishop e6 is not. This does not have a good reputation, but it's playable. I see it sometimes. But I think that Uber Driver, objectively, you need to either play c takes d or play the Swedish variation with c4. Both of those moves are playable for black. This is shaky. You know, I don't know how respectable this is. When you look at the database and the highest rated game is like from 1975, chances are it's not really well trusted. White now played rook c1. The problem with rook c1 is like maybe we can play like an improved. See, this seriously might be a mistake. After rook c1, can you play an improved Swedish variation where bishop e6 is more useful than rook c1? I'm concerned about that. See, dude, that's the idea. You're supposed to play c4. This move is always played in these Swedish variations, but rook c1 is, it's not clear that's really that useful in this type of position. I don't know, like, seriously, I think you're supposed to play c4 here. By playing c takes d4, I mean, you're giving white a normal game. If there's any drawback to this move, it's, like, definitely push. I wouldn't play that. I've always played this, takes on c5. You know, black's bishop on e6 is not, it's not a great move. It's playable. Then rook c1. You know, you're supposed to like take and in the future play rook c1 at some point. Or possibly even knight a4. Ganza. 1976. But eventually white will probably play rook c1. So I don't like your opponent's move order. And I prefer you to push. You took, knight takes. And now, borrowing a page from Mr. Slow, in a different position, you played a6. Yeah. Mr. Slow had a position with his rook on e8. I had a bishop on f4. And my knight was trying to go to b5 and like fork him on c7. So there's a very concrete reason why he played a6. But I do not fathom the purpose of a6 in this position. It's just a move, you know, nothing special. Weakening black's position slightly. Taking control of b5, no major upside. Mr. Coffee. Now white started to be kind of a lame-o. Yeah, this move is uninspiring. Sometimes rook e1 gets played, but I mean, there's no concrete purpose. Why do we need the rook on e1? I mean, sometimes black's bishop's like on g4 attacking e2. Or the rook is active on e8 and it's attacking e2. But there's very little justification for playing rook e1 here. Black just played a really lame move, and now, you know, we're playing a lame move in response. There's no pressure on e2. Why do we need to play rook e1? I've played this type of position before. I mean, I've played this, probably queen a4. I remember, who was it? I think I beat Klaus Pohl in a blitz game at the Boylston Chess Club or something like that. A German master who used to live in the United States. It was like 2200. I'll often play queen a4 and just, try to get black to take here. Uber Drivers played like this against me, probably. Let me see if I've ever had this position. Player, Sparkle Horse says white, no. So I haven't reached this exact position. Okay, rook e1 is terrible. And now queen b6. So queen b6, this is an idea. Notice the f2, also weakened by the movement of the rook to e1 slightly. We have pressure on b2. We have pressure on d4. There's knight g4 in the back of our mind. So white has to be careful. White has the option of knight b3. If you do that, though, there's the possibility of d4, which opens up this. And trying to take this, obviously leads to this. So there's nothing special. If d4, he'll just have to move the knight. I don't know. I mean, there is something like bishop takes f6. I had something similar last week. Here, maybe white might be maybe a tiny bit better, but I'm not sure. The other possibility is taking the bishop, which he did, or taking on c6. Taking on c6 is a move, of course. We would have to recapture, which strengthens our center. And then white plays knight a4. I mean, this is a very typical kind of position. I would say stay active with queen b5. A la... in this case, this rook actually looks like it's fairly logical. Yeah, I guess this move deserves consideration. Okay, knight e6, taking the bishop, is a move. It's not a panacea. White isn't like automatically better because he takes the bishop, but there's a huge problem here. Like, this is not a move you want to play when you've moved your Grunfeld rook off of f1. It's like, hey, I'll take the rook off the weakest point of the initial position and then open up the f-file for my opponent here. You don't do that. Fe6, and he's just totally blind. Totally tactically blind to what's happening. White literally played b3. Actually, knight a4 is probably holding everything together. Barring a queen sacrifice, I assume we would see, queen a7 here. If bishop e3, we have d4. We're still okay. But white has time to make a rational move now. But this is a joke, man. Knight takes e6 and b3. So, I'm looking for queen takes f2 to work. It just doesn't work. So, triple attack. Triple attack. And now this bishop is hanging as well. So what do you think? He found the best move, bishop e3. Or is there another option? If e3, knight takes f2. So I think there's no other option. Ensemble Chess resubscribed with Prime for 3 months. A subscriber now for 3 months from the Ensemble Chess. Yeah, the best move is resigns. Well, you know, you never want to give up without a fight. So we're a pawn down, a strong center for black. He tried this though. This is cagey. He has bishop e4 now. I guess queen d3. No, it doesn't matter. But I guess resigns is appropriate. Now we're actually losing a piece by force. Wow. So that didn't really save white. You know, incidentally, yeah. Well, yeah, there's no other option. I mean, rook e1 was a lemon. All right, next game. Lemon. There's no bribes. Jim is up next. I'll give you 10 seconds to bribe me. That fit out of his last game. Just saying, no more game submissions without very, very high donations. I want to go to bed in good time tonight. It was a rough day today. This is the Jimster. Jimster playing the Caro-Kann. e4, c6, d4, d5, knight d2, takes, bishop f5. The really popular line now is the knight f6. This is nasty. Maybe white's best is like take, c3, bishop d3, castles, queen c2, check, knight e2, h5, and then try to castle queenside. I was at the World Senior in November in Italy, and I saw a decent game by Rogelio Antonio from the Philippines. He crushed this Danish FM. You know, the main line here is castles kingside, but maybe objectively this is dicier, but we're gonna try to castle queenside. So knight d7, castles queenside. If there's any way for white to try to win, you know, I don't know. Magnus Carlsen lost against Duda in 2020. Yeah, so, but white doesn't have a great score here. So anyway, Jim, you might want to think about playing knight f6. And you too, Gina Rook. I don't know what you play. So bishop f5, knight g3, bishop g6, and now knight f3. And there are various moves. I think the safest is knight d7, preventing knight e5. The most aggressive is like e6, actually encouraging white to play knight e5. And now there's knight f6, which is really like a in-between move. I don't really know that much about this particular variation. So white's normally playing h4. But what white did in this game is playable. Like Spassky Karpov. Spassky had a candidates match with Karpov, you know, before 1972. No. Post 1972. Sorry. Is that making sense? Am I making sense? Post when Fischer quit. I don't remember now. I'm getting confused, but there were definitely some games between Spassky and Karpov, where Spassky played like white. Anyway, a whole bunch of Spassky games where he played without h4. If you don't play h4, it's very hard for white to get anything here. There are other lines, like this weird line, the knight h3, bishop c4, all these weird variations, but objectively, okay, normally white plays h4 first, so he delayed that, but still, most people will play h4 here. I didn't realize this is a variation. Wow, that is weird. Wow, Anand versus Anand. This is a thing. Dude, that's crazy. Wow. I had never seen this before. Well, it goes to show, move order matters. This is weird. I'd never seen a single game in that line. So bishop d3. And now Jim did something I've never seen either in this position, which is queen a5 check. So normally you play queen a5 check when there's a bishop on f4 to say, like, induce bishop d2, retreating. First off, white can just play c3 here. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe that's your plan. You're just going to, like, take here and play queen a6 or queen b5 or something. But let's say white doesn't cooperate. He plays bishop d2. What are we achieving here? What's the idea with queen a5? What does it do? Or it's just a crappy move. He's just making moves, probably. Let's not overanalyze it. So you're supposed to play e6. There's no reason to exchange here because you bring the white queen into the game. You can do it, but it's not necessary. Like, you would prefer to have white take on g6, because if he takes on g6, now you have this play down the h file. That's actually good for black, theoretically. Yeah, actually, Sumahara, of course queen c7 is a move. This type of move is totally, normal. It's just a rare position. I guess you could play queen c7. But maybe there's no reason to play queen c7. If you play here and white plays like bishop f4, now there's a couple games with queen a5 check. Because obviously you want to induce that bishop to go back, and then you put your queen on c7. That totally makes sense. To play it for no reason is weird. But luckily white played c3. Yeah, I mean, clearly this is more provocative. I bet Jim would have done something weird, like queen b6. Yeah, but I'm allergic to this pawn. I do not take those pawns with my queen on b6. But that's not happening. Almost never. So c3. So now I expected him to do bishop takes and try to justify his queen position, Of course white is a tiny bit better here, but it's not much. I just don't think this is serious position. That would be an attempt to justify the position of the queen on a5. Instead, he just plays this. White castles, and now e6. But, like, there's no clear justification for the queen on a5. So I would think, like, white could just launch the b pawn now. He doesn't have to, but it's an option. Or another interesting option is maybe a4 to go with b4 later. And black isn't castled queenside, but still, like, grabbing space might be beneficial for white. Queen a5 was dubious. Maybe bishop f4 first. This is a good move. Rook e1 is a good move, definitely. And now this is almost suicide. Black castle queenside here. I mean, this is just like, dude, you are in big trouble. I think after castling into this, pawn storm is really, really dangerous. So, like, yes, bishop f4 is possible, but I mean, a4 is strong, b4 is strong. b4 is really strong. I mean, black is in trouble, I think. Yeah, c4 even, maybe. I mean, this could be a little bit sensitive. If you push c4, your d-pawn can be a little sensitive, but of course it's possible. You have to watch stuff like that, I mean, there are tactics here. So it's not a move I'm really that enthusiastic about. c4. There's a lot of... But this is just weird. Why would you put your bishop on c4? You're in the way. It doesn't do anything there. What does bishop c4 do? It just kind of sits on c4 with no purpose. Is he thinking of sacrificing on e6? I don't know, man. I mean, if anything, black should probably look at h5. I don't know if that's good. This might be I don't know if it's a good move. I like coming back, to c7. After queen c7, we transposed to a game from Budapest. Balint Vilmos versus Tonatmin. To is an IM, who sometimes was on. He was in the chat on my stream. Dragon. He's not a bad player. Queen c7 makes the most sense. Now b4, and he ended up losing to Vilmos, who's a dangerous attacker, actually. I lost the rapid game to that guy. Alright. Yeah, but that makes the most sense. I don't know what else you're going to do here. So e5 is weird. Feels weird. Playing for tactics, right? But maybe I'm being too judgmental. Maybe Jim is right. Maybe I should be more willing to play this move. We have to stir up the initiative a little here. You got to watch the diagonal. White just didn't really react. You can't just sit there and get destroyed, exactly. Yeah, I mean, my first reaction was to go with the h-pawn. I'm not sure how effective it is. I would love to be able to play h4. Maybe white can sit on you with, like, knight h4. But there, again, like, bishop there. If you try to play g5, white is just wailing on you with b4. It reminds me of the knight arf on the other side of the board. White can also just play like h4, for example. Not to mention stuff like later on knight g5. c5 is dangerous. But I still think this would be my bet. What does the computer say? Wow, it wants to do c5. White is much better. I should say, like, Jim obviously taking a big risk here by castling queenside. We didn't really talk about it. That's not a normal thing to do in this position. I mean, you're not supposed to castle queenside when the guy has a free kick on the queenside. That's not a normal thing to do. So castles queenside, bishop c4, e5, bishop g5, takes. Now b4. And, who wants to play a sensible move here, like queen c7? No, I want to go get my queen trapped. Jim's playing a fast blitz game, and he likes to play bullet. It looked like castles queenside was, like, losing strategically. Yeah, I would never, ever do that in a serious game. So he grabs rook c1. Now white has really, really, really devastating tactics. You're going to get mated by, like, bishop f4 and bishop a6. One of those things. And you're just begging for this mate, right? That kind of thing. Where there's, like, bishop f4, bishop a6. How does black Black survives here with like knight b8 or something. Possible that black has some kind of defense. Knight b8. Knight b8 actually wins there. So it's not so simple. But I believe that white is good here. Knight c6, second best move. You have to do bishop a6 first. King b8, and then win the queen. You can't win the queen with rook b1. Rook e3. Wow. Threatening rook b3. Way, way harder for black to play than white, I think. The king is totally open. It's a miracle if black's not lost. So he did it. This happened. Take, take, check. And now you're supposed to go to b8, but Jim naturally was afraid of the file, so he played king c7. Now, obviously there could be a rook takes c6 combo. But I don't see any follow-up there. It's definitely something to think about, though. White didn't have the guts. White just he totally forgot about the bishop on g6. Guarantee you. I think he just hung it, you know. He just, like, forgot it. Check. Bishop d6. Bishop d6. Queen d6. It was just a blunder, man. White just blundered. And now he's lost. Queen c2. And then h5. I would never play h5, but maybe you're right. I don't know. I mean, I'm very afraid of this. I want to trade rooks. So rook e8, rook d1. One problem is that black never has a back rank mate, because like all these pieces can retreat back to f1. You cannot back rank mate white ever. So you bring your rook, you know, but you're not. It doesn't matter. You know, you're not getting down there. But white is a little short of ammunition here, down a full rook. He just doesn't have enough. It's over. Now I would double rooks and play queen takes c1 check. But Jim didn't do it. I mean, this is pretty strong, because you're just threatening queen takes c1 check and rook b1. White probably would have missed it in blitz moment. Yeah, now it's still a little murky. That's suicide, though, f4. You don't want to open up the white king on this diagonal, do you? White just ran out of ideas. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Jim just wanted to throw a game in there. But Jim, don't castle queenside in that kind of position. That's... You probably know better than to do that. Okay, guys, 2 last games left. I've got Schumacher, who didn't bribe me to do his game first, and Nefedov, who also didn't bribe me this week. All right, Schumacher versus Husky. Schumacher, actually, the pronunciation. Oh, I saw something in the news about the Schumacher racing team. He is Schumacher. Something in the news about the Schumacher racing team is a disgrace or something. D4. Yeah, I don't think it's anything about the elder Schumacher, just something about the team itself is falling apart. Okay, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3. And, you know, I managed to beat Husky in a nice game this week. d5, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, castles. So I played knight f3 against Husky, and he played h6. We had the normal type of Tartakover. It's interesting to see, though, Because Schumacher plays... He plays the black side of the Queen's Gambit too. You know, so he knows what he's doing here. But you played a move I believe I've never played before. I don't think I've ever played this move. I played a lot of Queen's Gambits, no. So it's a rare move, like a Nimzo. Yeah, you're obsessed with putting the queen on c2. But it's interesting. You know, it's hard to say what black should do necessarily. You're probably just going to transpose to normal variations with knight f3. I don't know if there's anything black can do outside the ordinary. Yeah, I mean, you can castle queenside in these lines, but it's... Anytime you castle queenside in the Queen's Gambit, it's very risky. The question is, like, what's black's best move? Apparently h6. I remember one time I had a game against the Greek GM in Blitz where he used the idea of queen b3 against me in a similar position where I was black. He just like traded and then castled queenside. The queen was on b3, not on c2, but I imagine you could try the same thing. You know, it doesn't really matter if your queen's on b3 or c2. So when he goes h6, you can take here, and you could try to play a pawn storm on the king's side. What I'm saying is like knight f3, castles queen side, followed by g4, h4, g5. I can't remember what player it was. It was years ago. Bonikas, I think, played it against me. But I think that's an aggressive try. So let's play knight f3. See, black goes with c5. This is important that black plays actively to try to talk you out of castling queenside. If black plays passively there, you're gonna you go after him. Yeah, castles is a move. h4 is a move. You know, black needs to act very quickly to discourage you, you know, from castling queenside. So what's my point, right? What's my point, Bijak? Then maybe you should seriously consider this. Not playing bishop h4. If you want to be really aggressive here, you know, this is a serious option. I don't know though, you know. The c5 does look pretty decent. Let's see, d takes c5, queen a5, c takes d5, e takes d5. But you still don't have to castle queenside. Wow, this is Kasparov with white. That's really risky. Interesting stuff. So consider playing bishop takes f6. If you're going to play this move order, you might as well. The other option, of course, is h4. Played by someone named Brian Jones. Brain Jones. It's sound. Wow, so h4 is actually sound. The point is, like, taking is dangerous, duh. Thus, c5. The question is, like, when do you have to blink here? You can always play bishop takes f6, but h4 might not be that useful in every position. Yeah, it's interesting stuff to look at. I would look at it. Anyway, you just played bishop h4. Normal move. Now, d takes c. D takes. Yeah, so Husky's like very clearly trying to avoid having a bad bishop. But b6 is a normal line. Like if you take here, and he takes, and you take, and he takes, he can put the bishop on e6. This is an important idea. If you go to this type of structure, before black has played bishop b7, I had this once against this guy, Alexander Schneider. I think I was actually black. I can't remember. Very rare Queen's Gambit. I get my bishop to e6. And the bishop's actually better on e6 than it is on b7 because it, again, it's looking both ways when it crosses the street. Alright, so takes right away, interesting move, playable, bishop takes, and then c5. He should probably hit you with c5. Belus versus Azoria. Computer doesn't like it. Alright, so he plays b6. Now, you had something. Oh, you had a trick with queen e4. You had bishop f6, bishop f6, queen e4. Forcing him to play the awkward c6. Now you could castle queenside. Wow, that's cool. I've never seen that exact trick. You also have bishop d3 and mate on h7, the Astor mate. Yeah, this is like a ready-made attack for white. Did you see that? He could sack the exchange with bishop a6, queen a8, bishop takes c4. But it's probably like just not sound. Yeah, so he was making it up. He was making this up on the fly. Nah, he should just play b6. You know, he shouldn't do that right away. I guess this is inaccurate. b6, you missed it. Knight f3. And now you're just transposing to a kind of normal position. But is your queen on a good square here? Castles here. You know, I think the queen is better placed on e2. Rook e1 is okay. You know, your other rook is coming to d1. I would play this first, but because I want to discourage him from playing c5. If you play rook e1, you don't do anything. But if you play rook d1, you're discouraging c5. His queen is a bit of a problem. He should try to trade pieces here. So you played the other way and allowed c5 and then that. But it's nothing special. Like, it's equal. Well, I don't know about his move queen c7 here. That feels kind of mistake. That has to be a mistake. So what about ways for black to trade pieces? Knight h5. Anybody? Knight h5. You know, the point is, like, if bishop g3, you take here, and then black has to be very, very careful. Queen e8, queen b8, maybe. Be very, very quiet. He's probably okay, though. You can try d5. I mean, I think you're a little better. What's the best move? I wasn't sure. a6 is a move too, but I'm scared of the d file. I was afraid you got something here. This is nothing. Wow, there's a trick. If you take on c5, he can pin you on the file to your bishop. That's why your queen's supposed to be on e2. Interesting. So you should play a6. Spassky would play a6. He's a good Tartakover player. Or was. He's still alive. But queen c7 is a blunder. Bishop g3. Queen c8. Bishop g3 is a good move anyway. Now what do you do? Like, knight b5, fix your queen. Gives up his monster b. Takes. And then, I mean, you're crawling all over him here, but is there a concrete threat? I'm not a fan of bishop takes f3, but I understand he just wants some room. Can Spassky drive a car? Good question. I'm not the person to ask, but I probably could find out for you. He played queen c6 again. You would feel like this would be safer. If you're going to choose a square, I mean, he went to c6. Wow. So he takes, bye-bye. And then c5. That's a nice choice. So his queen at least has some scope here. Yeah, he had to be careful there. Now it looks like you're angling. It honestly looks like you played the Smith-Morra or something, man. I mean, you're playing the white side. I tell you, you should play e4. You play the white side of the Queen's Gambit like it's the Smith-Morra. Queen b3. With subtle tactical ideas. You do have good control of the center, though, and your king is relatively safe. So you sacked now. Oof. I mean, that's pretty obvious, man. You got all your pieces lined up on e6. The first thing that comes to mind is king h8, right? Kind of a universal move. There's this diagonal, and anyway, there's like this file in some cases that could be dangerous. But I wouldn't have wanted to calculate that crap, man. I would have been out of there, you know. This looks scary. This looks really scary. But it's not enough, huh? He has rook f7. Alright, I thought you were going to take with the queen here. I had a misunderstanding. I thought this piece was undefended. If only you had a way to decoy his queen away. You know, if king h8, all you need to do is drive his queen away and you get your piece back. That has to be possible, right? I mean, knight b3, what's he going to do? After knight b3, you have queen b4, a3. Then he has this ridiculous move, queen b5. And now you have like knight d4. I mean, it seems like eventually, what is that, some kind of bizarre way to win a piece? Eventually you're going to win a piece back. But maybe black has rook f7. Wow. It's actually sound for you. Knight b3. Queen b5, e5, bishop b4. It's very, very complicated. It's totally like a Sicilian. What? You mean taking the other way? Of course you have to calculate the other way. But this bishop's hanging. Knight e6, queen c4. It's possible, but it's probably okay for black. Computer just loves having two pieces for the rook and stuff. Yeah. It's not quite good enough. No, this was nice. This was an interesting shot, but I'm wondering about queen takes still. So, what does the computer think? fe6. Wow, you have another move, e5. I never even considered it. So you literally have three moves in this position. You can play queen takes, you can play e5, and you can play knight takes e6. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to decide which of those moves to play. This is the kind of position where you need to analyze all the possibilities. Of course, it's not possible in a rapid game. You know, so let's see what happens in your line. Take, take, take. And then what happens on like queen c4? Does it matter? You're going to have that e5 thing, right? I guess it doesn't matter where you go. You're going to win a piece back, right? Don't you just win the piece back no matter what? The point isn't necessarily this. The point is to play here and disconnect his knights. But maybe at the end of the day, I don't know. You can't do that. You have to take a rook? Why? Who says you have to take a rook? Why do you have to take a rook? Well, maybe it's better, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. You don't have to take a rook. You lost a piece, get it back. No, you don't have to take his rook. If you take his rook, he's okay too. That's a possibility, but very hard to say. It's interesting though. Apparently, you know, the engine doesn't like your sack. It thinks you had other moves, but it's just really hard to say in a timed game what the best line is. I don't like your pawn structure here with those two isolated. Your pawns are really interesting. I mean, this is your big thing here. You know, f4, f5, f4, e5. This threesome of pawns. You can like just plow forward with those pawns. To me, that seems like the best bet. This is almost like, I mean, there's some scary stuff here. The dark squares, f2, his knight coming in, him getting like a blockade on the dark squares. There's a lot of ways this could go wrong for you. But I just don't know if you should exchange this bishop or not. You know, for me, like f4 seems like the most logical. Is it interesting to sack just because it's a much higher rated player? Okay, you know, you got to understand, first of all, like, Bijak is an intuitive player. I don't know how to explain it, but he doesn't systematically analyze all the variations. I mean, he's more intuitive. But a lot of people argue that it's better to take, you know, much higher rated players into unclear positions. The logic is, like, you make it a higher variance situation, so there's a better chance, like, you pull an upset or something. But also, maybe, you know, maybe it's not that clear cut. It depends on the kind of opponent, I think. But this bishop d6 I'm not sure about. My big fear is that he blockades you somehow. But I guess it's not so easy. So your pawns are key. 98. Yep. You know, already these pawns are kind of stragglers. I wonder if we go back here. Can you push f4? What's the best move? Damn, I'm good. f4 is the only move that's not worse for white. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure about exchanging pieces or not. I don't think this is so bad, but I think that the important thing to understand is that this is your biggest asset. These pawns are your thing here. Trading bishops or not trading bishops, it's not so important. It's getting these pawns together like a mobile, you know, force. You need all three of them, like f4, f4, e5, f5, f4, you know, get them all down the board. So they take away all the minor pieces, like all their squares, and start messing him up. But now they're kind of separated, and he can blockade with g5. If he sets up a solid blockade, you could even be worse. triplets. He has tons of time here. You know, I think he plays way too fast, like every game is bullet. I mean, what's this position? You gotta consider G6, right? Rook takes A7 check, king here. Yeah, I don't think, like, you know, there's any chance black is winning here. You could just keep, like, harassing him. You know, he's lucky he's not worse. I'm not sure what he did with his rook was right. He went out, took down this kind of irrelevant pawn on b2. He went right after your weak pawn, you know. When in reality, he should be, like, setting up a blockade. The most important thing for him is to set up the blockade. Maybe knight h5? This looks like a strong move, man. If he plays knight h5, he nails down 2 out of 3 pawns, right? And then it helps to support the e6 as well. And he can lock it down with, like, g5 later. So this looks like just kind of coffee house blitz move. This pawn is irrelevant. You know, who cares about a double isolated b pawn? The first thing he's got to do is try to take out, you know, the danger of these pawns. So this looks like a really good move. You don't have penetration to the 7th. He's taking away your f4. Now maybe black's better. Black is better, in fact. Better. So this is a huge mistake. Your pawn's becoming very, very dangerous now. And his knights are passive. Check out his knights. Yeah, I think he messed up. You know, he messed up big time. And now you could play e6 pretty soon. But I think maybe you have to be content with the draw here. I don't know if you're winning. This was kind of a weird decision. Check, king g6. I didn't see that idea, though. Right. I missed his idea to come up here. What? Mate in the back rank. So it's just a big trade. Takes, check, here, takes, takes. His king is good enough to hold a draw, probably. Yeah, it should be a draw. Yeah, in fact, you have to be careful. I don't think f4 is the right move. You know, you should probably go on the 7th and attack his like g pawn. Yeah, rook c7 is a draw. The engine says f4 is okay too, but I don't like it as much. Now you can lose both those pawns. You know, if you just play on the 7th, you get your rook down, you're on his 7th, you can get behind his pawn. He almost has to play here and trade this one for this one, and it's a totally theoretical draw position. So f4 was risky, you know, the second f4. And he's super fast, I know. He's actually got you down to 16 seconds. He left that pawn on the board, though. That's a huge mistake. He's really blitzing. And with the increment left, it's a dead draw. What, you checked him? Oh, you like tried to win again. Realistically, you don't have any winning chances. That's the sad part. You just have to try to draw, man. You know, you have to really realize that you're not going to win. Go after his b pawn and reach a theoretically drawn position. You know, I mean, that's all you can do. No matter how fast he is, this kind of elementary rook ending where it's like 2 against 1 with increment, yeah, you shouldn't lose it. But here you're almost like trying to win, it feels like. It's a draw anyway. This is a little more complicated, though. I wouldn't, you know, know if this is a draw or a win. Yeah. Oh, attack his rook, though. Oh, you have no choice. Oh, my God. It was a draw to... It's not a draw anymore, right? It's not a draw after you lose your H-pawn. Yeah, you can't lose your H-pawn. This is really close. Now you're lost. That's really sick. Yeah. Well, at least he didn't, like, flag you. Oh, this was what happened. Wow. So rook exchange. King c3. Yeah, I don't know if you should try a different move like king d1. Objectively. Yeah, it's sad. Nice technique. Okay, guys, last game. Nefyudov. You found a weird quote about what? Double pawns in rooking games. Krunoslav Hulak. Wade also has what the late Croatian Krunoslav Hulak like to call half a pawn more. You have no idea what it meant? Well, it's a basic premise that weak double pawns are worth half a pawn. It sounds reasonable. I've definitely had that kind of feeling. I think that's the way like early 80s engines would evaluate positions. Okay, our last game from Nefyudov. We gotta go, guys. Latest word game. Game versus crew. I lost the game, my opponent played well. Well, that's a relief. So he worded it badly. Alright, Nefyudov with black. Oh no. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. Sigh. We don't get to see the Schliemann, and that's a bummer. But Nefyudov plays, he plays the classical openings pretty well. So I can learn something maybe, because I just hate playing against this dude. But I really wanted to see him face knight g5. Actually, classical hillbilly. Sorry, I did not mean to put that in there. Can I delete that? Sorry. Alright. So d3, the old school. Yeah, Nefyudov would play the knight a5. Okay, so we get the boring Gioco Pianissimo. Castle. I like a6 personally. I know a5 type of setups are all the rage. I'm just old school. Okay, castles. Nefyudov is kind of old school, a different old school than me. So he castled. What I don't like is like people playing h6. I mean, it's really lame. Don't fear bishop g5 in this opening, I say. So what is that? What is that move? Blimey. No, sorry, you can't hijack all my streams into political discussions. Bishop e3. Alright. Yeah, that's a weird move. I mean, on the plus side, with bishop e3, like, if you take, this rook is well placed to be useful on the f-file. Black normally doesn't take in such situations. Bishop e3. Oh, was that in English? Okay, I don't know what it was. I was just messing around. So, on Nefedov's behalf, yeah, I mean, normal moves here for white. Bishop e3, rook e1. What else? If knight up bd2, nothing wrong with that. They're totally all normal moves. But this I've never seen before. Okay, so what do? Do we let him take on c5? We don't let him play d4. Do we let him play d4 with tempo? Maybe we do. This is a safe move. Bishop b6 is a totally safe move. This, you know, typically, like, you don't play unless the rook is on e1. But who knows? I personally don't really like it. The computer doesn't mind it. So you took. What's wrong with bishop b6? What's the problem here? We keep the tension. I feel like that's the traditional approach. Alright, so if we do this, I want a clear plan, you know. What is our plan? To go after his bishop? That's what you did. We're not getting it, though. I mean, he could give it to us if he wants to. I was thinking about this. This is probably really bad. On the plus side, on the plus size, we would knock out his central pawn, but he has another one. And then after knight takes c5, this diagonal looks kind of bad. White can play. Man, I lost to somebody like this. Who was it? One of you. Oh, someone on sound beat me in a position like this. But this is sketchy. I don't know, you know. What's he supposed to play? Queen e2. Like queen d2 or queen e2. White's a little bit better. It's playable. It's an option. So Nefedov played what these 2500s, one of them played. Knight a5. Okay, I don't like this f-file here for white, particularly. Now, what is white going to do? Is he going to just hand over his bishop with knight on bd2? Is he going to play bishop b5? Or is he going to just, like, move it back to b3? The opponent played bishop b3. I mean, I feel like the normal thing to do is bishop b5. Bishops are worth more than knights in general. So here, this Czech Grandmaster Votava played a6. And after bishop a4, he played b5. White played bishop c2, keeping this bishop. And we transposed. We have transposed. And now c5, setting up a dark square pawn chain. Pelletier versus Ponomarev. One of Nefedov's compatriots. Ponomarev now lives in Spain. And also Gayam versus Win Wok Trongson. Pavlovich Milo. So a lot of good players. So that I like that. But his opponent played this. So now, like, you know, you have a tough call, but it's hard not to take the bishop. I mean, you obviously could play c5. In the same line, you know. The argument is his bishop is so bad I don't really care if I take it or not. And you'd be like threatening c4 here. Nefedov, this is a solid move. Under no circumstances should we lose here. Really, either side shouldn't lose. If I were white, personally, you know, after studying the games of Karl Schlechter, Hannibal Schlechter. I would play A takes B. It's Zor Champ versus Flying Saucers, 2006. I'm definitely taking with the pawn. Alright. You came really close to getting banned yesterday. You're trying. Trying again. Queen takes B3. I need a lot of votes for Trump because we obviously want him to have some hope that he can win the next election. So not going to auto-ban the Trump supporters. I don't want to discourage them from their fallacy. Alright, Queen takes B3. I thought about just like pretending to be a far-right chess influencer. Probably be some good money in that. Knight takes b3, queen takes b3. Okay, boring, safe. Now Nefedov played knight g4. Can you say, Nefedov, can you say acerbate? Can you play knight g4? Can this make sense? If you can play f5, that's how I lost against someone on sound, by the way. Very similar game. Nefedov, you should play some training games with someone on sound. He's pretty tough. I fell into some kind of trap where I overpressed and I was like lost with black in the simul in a similar line. Yeah, it's awkward for white momentarily, right? But actually, are you even threatening anything? That's the problem. So Nefedov played this, probably thinking like he could force white to play rook e1. But he's actually not. You know, after h3, your knight is trapped on e3. So if you play this... Or is it? Man, this could get crazy. Can we do anything crazy like bishop e6? c4? I don't think we can quite pull it off. Man, acerbate would definitely... There's several people I know, and I won't mention them by name, but several players from the stream who would be happy to play this position with black. Either this or something like knight takes c4. Yeah, you better be careful or Dominion voting system is going to be coming for you too. Their lawyers will be in contact with you. I'll forward your name, your Twitch handle. No, I wouldn't do that. They have to find you on their own. Knight takes g2. No, I'm just kidding. This is bullshit. You gotta retreat. So this was a tactical. You know, this is interesting. So Nefedov, how does Nefedov lose? He becomes overconfident. And then I also do this against like lower rated players a lot. And against someone on sound. Now you're like, oh shit. So I just wasted time. And I mean, you know, this looks plausible. But I mean, eventually when you play king h8, white could play g4. And I don't know if this is a good thing. So we went back to f6 here, and then the c6. But I don't know about that. Also, you know, we saw the other games where black played like a dark square pawn chain. Do you want to play c6, or do you want to play like c5 and have your, you know, pawns all on dark squares with the complementary? I'd like my pawns on dark squares with the complementary light square bishop. Sign up now to get a complementary light square bishop. So this is not a no-brainer, you know, and this pawn is soft on d6. c5 might look more weakening, but in reality, maybe it's a better move. Or less flexible. But anyway, white plays d4. Queen b6. Hello? Hello? Have you seen me? Nefedov's like drifting without a clear plan. And still he's probably okay. Takes. I'm not in love with that by white either. Wow, white took on e5. I didn't think that was going to happen. It's probably a kid. He must be very materialistic. He or she. I don't know, is Carmel, is that a male or female name? D takes e5, knight takes e5. Nice pawn structure you got there. Wow. We've got problems with knight c4. We don't want to drop our b6. People are inherently materialistic. And if you screw around, it might be difficult to round this pawn up. So rook e8, knight c4. And now you're losing your nugget on b6? Are you sure about that? Damn. I wasn't sure. It's interesting. Okay. I don't want to lose that pawn. That sucks. Yeah, you played lackadaisically, I would say, without a plan. And then suddenly white like took this pawn that looks untakeable. Nefedov, I would say, was kind of unlucky. White's made a couple weird moves, but I was seriously considering b5. If you look at the engine, it evaluates at 0.0. But again, it's not so simple. I don't want to just be down a pawn. Rook e8 is not the only move either. There's also bishop e6. I mean, these pawns aren't going anywhere. You know, if you never win that pawn back, it's still not necessarily a catastrophe. What if you played bishop e6, for example? And just, like, go here. Bishop e6 looks interesting. Wow, I totally was 100% sure I was going to play knight b6. That was a surprise. You know, I still think, like, you're a tiny bit worse here. But objectively, maybe it's not that bad. Yeah. I can't believe she went here. And it looks like she's got a draw, probably, with knight b6 without any sweat. With a slight edge. But this knight d6, how do you defend the knight on? So there, why there? Oh my god. Why did you play rook e7? Nefedov's sleeping at the board. So clearly you have to play rook e6, attacking her knight. She has to take, or play knight f5 and just drop a pawn back for nothing. Now you're better. Probably a little better. So this is really bad. Nefedov like sleepwalking this game. Rook e7, and like white is just allowed to keep that pawn. I would totally play rook e6. She would have to take. You would take back. And then she would defend her pawn, and you would just attack it again. And then she would play something like a4. You're still nervous here, but you've got b4. Probably pawn takes pawn, knight takes e4. You're still a pawn down, but yeah, I don't think white's going to win. However, Nefedov, if you're trying to win this position, you could be in trouble. You know, I think at this point you have to kind of accept that the horse has left the barn, and if you're going to be drawing with a low rated player or something like that, you better be prepared mentally that, you know, we're not going to win this game, and you just need to, like, screw it, I don't want to lose, you know. If you have hopes of winning this position, okay, this is an absurd move by white, like rook a d1. What the heck is that? But maybe it's not so bad, actually. It's just, I don't know, why not just move the pawn or something, or take. And maybe she has the same delusion that she's better in a drawn position. Right, so you have to go here now. That knight is strong, man. The knight on d6 is strong. I'm not under the false assumption that I'm better here. I've played a lot of strong players, and even if your opponent isn't particularly strong, I think I evaluate positions objectively. Maybe b6 now. Rook d8. Can I play b6? Maybe c4? I don't like being a pawn down against this opponent here. Rook d8 is awkward too. Her knight is so strong. Here, e5, and now... Oh man, look at your pieces. What are you doing? What are you doing? Black has to be... Wow, knight e8. Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing here is to admit that this knight on d6 is really, really strong. So you could have just tried to get rid of it. Realize you're worse and play for a draw. Or at least, you know, not to lose. Now that the knight is really locked in there, at least temporarily. She didn't do anything special. Nefedov's still trying to win, it looks like. But I mean, I guess f6 is sort of the only try at this point. So white could take. And white is a pawn up in an endgame. Or is she? Yeah. Knight f6. Is this knight possibly trapped? Knight, this is Nefedov's hope. Here, here, and we win. Damn. If she takes, you take, she makes one careless move, white's like lost. Except she's not, because of e4. That would be painful. She's lost except for the fact that she's not lost. She has e4, rook d6, rook d6, rook d6, and e5, winning the piece back and holding. Probably white's better. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you push too hard, you know, trying to irrationally play for a win. You'll miss something. Yeah. She had to play knight f3. Knight f3 is best. e4, question mark. This is the recorded analysis. So he went to b6. I mean, f4 is more aggressive. Now takes. No. She can't take on e5 because of bishop e3. She did that. This happened. Oh my god. So Nefedov thought he was winning probably, and then maybe missed knight f5. So you're clear pawn down. But again, let's not panic. Maybe it's time to panic. There's a sick variation here. If you play this, she has knight e7 check. Does that work? That's a scary move. I'm not enjoying that. So Nefedov takes. Knight takes check, king f8, rook takes. You have to take back. And now you're down a pawn. But you've got knight a4 at the end. She has knight d6. So Nefedov here played bishop c2. But what about knight a4? Knight a4, knight d6, knight b2, knight b7. Let's work this out. Here, here, here. You know, you break up her pawns into 3 dimensions. Now white takes there, and yes, she's up a pawn, but her structure sucks. This is indefensible. You have this again. No, so you might end up in some kind of position like this. Takes, takes. When it's probably a draw, but real touch and go. You're probably holding. Yeah, you're gonna hold on. Just barely. I have the feeling this is probably a draw. If you're very careful. But see, bishop c2, that might still be okay. Here, knight a4. This exact variation. Knight here. And now bishop takes c4 question mark. Yeah, this is the exact variation we were looking at. Oh man. Knight takes b2. Yeah, basically something like this. Knight c5, knight a4. I'm not sure I want to do that, but you might not be losing. What about knight takes c6? You know, I don't know about this. This is kind of scary. We're a pawn down. Your bishop's a good piece, but I don't know if it's enough to save the game with that pawn fixed on a4. It's real close. So bishop takes e4, knight d7 check here, knight c5. White's going to have very good technique to win. Should you trade? Probably have to. So is this definitely a win for white? I don't like the fact that your pawns are fixed on the wrong color. You know, if you could play like b6 and your bishop wasn't hanging, I think you could probably hold on. But the fact that your pawns are fixed on the wrong color doesn't look good. King f2, king d6, b4, king d5, king e3. What about other moves like bishop f5 here? Do we have bishop f5? Do we have g5? Possibly. You know, how is white creating a passed pawn here, by the way? If you play like g5. You know, I don't know that she's winning here. Yeah, it looks like a draw. g5 is a good move. That backward pawn hurts her pretty bad. It's actually a draw. So again, Nefedov is probably too aggressive. It's not necessary to do this. I think white can't make progress. Like, that threat will always be in the position. So if you fix your pawns on the correct color on the king side with g5, no, if white had like knight f7, I mean, you'd be lost, right? But I don't know how her knight, you know, her knight isn't real great here. You know? I think you're actually holding still. This might be too aggressive. King c4, king d2. You know, you don't achieve anything with that move. You see, the problem here is what happened now. Bishop f5. And this is where Nefedov screwed up. If he had played g5 and fixed his kingside pawns on dark squares, I'm not sure that white can win, but what happened there was bishop f5, h4. Now, like, 3 out of 4 pawns are fixed on the wrong color. And you definitely don't want to do this. You know, h5 is definitely bad. I mean, if anything, you play h6 here. Why would you put your pawns on white squares? The knight is dominated. If she goes to b7, you play king d5. Possibly you could go for the a pawn, but I think it's pointless. This is like you have 0 winning chances. Why do that? Just go back to d5. But h5 is a very bad idea. Fixing that pawn on a light square forever. a4 takes, knight takes. He fixed all of his pawns in the wrong color. Now, the only chance would be get your king over there. Yep. You gotta come over, I guess. Bishop e4? I don't know. I mean, this is a very technical ending. Apparently white's winning after bishop f5. White should be winning anyway. You had king b3 here. Wow. I'd be surprised if this is a draw, honestly. You'd think like black could get into Zugzwang somehow. Not that many pawns left. All of your pawns are on the wrong color and you're down a pawn. This is hard to believe it's a draw. Anyway, Nefedov, I gotta go. It was a good battle. But fixing those pawns on the wrong color, no, this is an OTB game. It's bad now. Your opponent played well. The endgame stage. The last chance would be like king f5. I mean, you gotta try to get active counterplay, but it's too slow. So what happened here? Yeah. Damn, she's gonna mess this up. Wow. Unbelievable. And Nefi has a draw with g5. Not easy to know that. You know, I'm just cheating with the computer, but obviously trading the pawns off makes sense. He should have found this. Or maybe Nefedov was in time pressure or something. I mean, he would normally find this move. Knight d5 check. King somewhere. There's just not that many pawns left. He needs to be able to sack his bishop for the c-pawn and then eat the others. That's amazing, though. Wow. So she actually terribly blundered with b5. Maybe the prior move as well. Yeah, here. She has king e5. Such a huge space advantage. White has to be winning. All the pawns on the wrong color. So Nefedov gets a last-minute reprieve from the governor, and he still loses. Wow. Your bishop's... yeah, it's a short diagonal. Your bishop is on the short bus. Yeah, I mean, you gotta play... pick a square. Either way you go, you get king b6 or king d6. Guys, I gotta go. It was nice knowing you. The founders, Nefedov, work on the end games. Don't overpress against weaker players. Be objective. I'll see everybody later. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mr. Coffee.